with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Thursday, December 11th, 2025. My name is Emma Vigeland, in for Sam Seder, and this is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Anthony Aguilar, Gaza Humanitarian Foundation whistleblower, will be with us. And later in the show, Melat Kiros, candidate for Colorado's 1st congressional district, joins us to talk about her race. Also on the program, U.S. troops seize a Venezuelan oil tanker amid massive troop buildups and escalations by the Trump administration trying to start war with Venezuela. And Trump tells the left-wing Colombian president, Gustavo Petro, that he is, quote, next. Wasn't he I kept hearing from the right, he's the anti-war guy, huh?
A good thing we got the neoconservatives out.
The House approves the $900 billion defense authorization bill. 94 Democrats voted against it. Should have been all, but a federal judge orders Kilmar Abrego Garcia's immediate release from ICE custody. Just broke this morning. ICE claims that it has no body camera footage of its brutal Chicago raids, which would be an open defiance of a court order.
Got to hit record.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. They'd also claim to a judge when they can't lie, because this is a FOIA request, that they have that footage. So weird. The Trump administration pushes to set up a militarized zone on the California-Mexico border. A Democratic analysis from the Joint Economic Committee finds that Trump's tariffs have cost the average family $1,200 over the past 10 or 11 months. This comes as the Fed cuts interest rates by 0.25 percentage point amid the economic slowdown. Republicans on Capitol Hill are scrambling because Trump still has not endorsed a plan to prevent ACA rates from spiking in 3 weeks. Not my problem. I'm not up for re-election in 2026.
I'll be dead anyway.
Yeah. I'm meeting my maker. A federal judge orders the administration to halt its deployment of California National Guard troops in LA. Another federal judge in Oregon blocks the Trump administration from arresting protesters for making noise. And lastly, torrential rains hit Gaza, flooding tents, and at least one child has died of exposure. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's an M Majority Report Thursday. Hello, Matt. Hello, Brian. Hello, audience. What's up, Matt?
So it might be against. You might not be able to be loud as a protester. But it might be free speech for landlords to use algorithmic price fixing. I love this free speech stuff. It's really great the way that our political system has interpreted the First Amendment.
Well, we've already granted personhood rights to corporations. Why not computer systems? I mean, why are we trying to restrict the AI from allowing corporations to price fix?
They're
just speaking. Butt Chug Sanders, thank you, writes in, that order by a judge about body cameras was made after the raid on the apartment complex. Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. The point, I guess, still stands, though, that they've made the claim in court that they have this, but they're not complying with FOIA requests from outside groups trying to get access to that. But let's turn to Venezuela and the big news from yesterday here. Since September, the Trump White House, again, called themselves the anti-war ticket so cynically, using the Biden administration's support for genocide in their favor. I mean, look, it's a political campaign, but their willingness to lie on the campaign trail to achieve power is historic and almost unprecedented, and it's the fault of the Democrats for being unable to call it out because it's such a brazen lie.
I don't mean to contradict you, but this is why the Democrats can't be a pro-war party, because the Republicans do run on this. Richard Nixon ran on a secret plan to end the Vietnam War, and then won the '68 election based on that. I would, it would be nice if the Democrats, learned from that.
While collaborating with opposition forces to continue the war.
Yep.
So, which is very, very eerily similar to the Trump administration having meetings with Netanyahu as Netanyahu was, dog walking Biden all over the place.
And then the Republicans getting into power, and then expanding the war into different neighbors. Like, let's fire a missile at Iran.
And now Iran will come into this story. Don't you worry. The ever-present boogeyman for the neocons. Even though we are in the Western Hemisphere and Trump sees himself as some sort of, late 19th century leader that wants to engage in conquest within our backyard. And
Teddy Roosevelt or something.
Yeah. But even we've done this via covert actions for the last 100 years or so. This is Trump just being expressly open about it and being a brute, which is one of his defining qualities. So since September, just a reminder, we've launched dozens of strikes on boats that the administration claims are drug runners and have provided zero evidence for that. We've killed over 80 people off the coast of Venezuela. We have now 15,000 troops in the region. This is the largest troop buildup in that area in the 21st century. We flew fighter jets into Venezuelan airspace the other day. And yesterday, the U.S. seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. This tanker had previously been the subject of U.S. sanctions. It was under another name because the U.S. claimed it was shipping oil to Iran, which, if that's the case, Venezuela has the right to sell its oil to whoever they want, but not under the sanctions regime, where we decide and we freeze their assets and we use the leverage of the United States to make it very difficult for Venezuela to have state control over their resources here and trade with who they want. So because of this,
And if destroying their oil industry leads to a bunch of people having to leave their country, and then the right wing can use that to use anti-immigrant sentiment to get into power, then that's just an extra little side benefit.
It's a self-licking ice cream cone, to use a phrase that Sam likes to deploy. But here's the president, Donald Trump, asked by a reporter yesterday about his taking of this oil tanker.
It's unfortunate what happened. I mean, I know exactly what happened. It got it started a little bit, but we'll see if we can put it out.
We're interested in the seizure of this tanker. Well, what happens to the oil on that ship?
Well, we keep it, I guess.
Where does it go? What port does it go to?
Well, you have to follow the tanker. You're a good newsman. Just follow the tanker.
Do you know where
follow,
it's going? Was it going
follow
to
it. Get a helicopter and follow the tanker.
Is it true it's going to
But we're gonna. I assume we're gonna keep the oil.
All right, just keep the oil. Just keep the oil.
He's not even awake.
It's good for the history books, though, just how clear this is going to be.
That is, again, we've talked about this. The benefit of Trump being such a dumbass is that he says all of the quiet things out loud. Remember when he maybe accidentally revealed that the death toll in Gaza was hundreds of thousands?
Yeah.
By saying that count?
Or him just saying, like, we need to keep Bagram Air Force Base in Afghanistan so we can keep an eye on the Chinese.
Yeah, right. Okay, thank you. These are the behind-the-scenes conversations that aren't like, this is about American freedom, baby.
Yeah, that's the stuff like an author like Stephen Kinzer would have to go into the paragraphs, like reading between the lines.
Yes, exactly. And just a reminder, when Trump was engaging in his racist screed against Somali Americans and Somalis the other day, he said, quote, "The only thing they're good for is going after ships." Less than a month ago, Iran seized this tanker, this Marshall Islands flag tanker. So it has a relationship with the U.S., and they did so in Gulf waters. And this is what the U.S. Central Command's press release in November said about such an action. Just scroll down. I think it's like the third paragraph here. Yes, Iran's use of military forces to conduct an armed boarding and seizure of a commercial vessel in international waters constitutes a blatant violation of international law, undermining freedom of navigation and the free flow of commerce. We call on Iran to articulate to the international community the legal basis for its actions. This is the United States
International law? Who's citing international law all of a sudden? The thing that we just openly say we're not subject to that?
The Trump administration won't... Biden doesn't follow international law.
No,
but the Trump administration, no president does. The Trump administration doesn't even follow U.S. law. Right. I mean, just to remind people, like the legal basis for these attacks on these boats and this escalation with Venezuela, it's so illegal. It's so unbelievably illegal. Congress has the power to declare war. They have not done so with Venezuela. The Trump administration is trying to use the 2001 and 2002 authorizations for the use of military force, which need to be repealed because they are so immensely broad. It basically gave the executive branch and the Bush administration the ability to kill people, anybody they deemed as terrorists, within the scope of responding to 9/11, and then, of course, what ended up being our illegal invasion of Iraq. The idea that the administration can claim that these attacks on these boats and our escalation with Venezuela is somehow covered under the authorizations for the use of military force that were in response to 9/11 is so laughable on its face. That's why they're trying to bring Iran into the conversation, because they are stretching the truth so broadly that they need to find a Middle Eastern boogeyman to justify their attempts to provoke Venezuela into responding. And by the way, we've talked about this with Iran. Iran and Venezuela, their restraint is what's keeping us from these horrific, horrific wars. Like the fact that Iran didn't respond more robustly to the United States bombing them earlier this year is part of why we're in this situation. We are the bully. We're the belligerent actor here. We're the ones causing unrest across the globe. And we're not even touching on the genocide that we're funding.
I mean, all this stuff about drugs or Iran and terrorists, those are just the buzzwords that the people who want to unholster their guns know they need to activate in order to unholster them.
Yep.
So whatever they need. And honestly, it's a type of, such a great lie that it should lead to a type of almost like revolutionary anger. The way that these people cite like the tens of thousands of opioid and stuff deaths that have done because we have not addressed that as a public health crisis, but instead like something that needs, again, to send cowboys across the world to protect people. We've let off the billionaires who were like the Sacklers and stuff.
Should we execute the Sacklers in the town square, or is it because if they're wealthy and donate to museums in New York City, that doesn't mean that they deserve summary execution?
They're not tied to anything that we want to overthrow or control. So it's not relevant. And so that's the thing, is they don't care about protecting women's sports. They don't care about your uncle that died from a drug overdose. They don't give a fuck about it, except as a warrant for them to unholster their guns and point at who they already wanted to point at.
And a good example of this is Maria Corina Machado. She is the latest figurehead that the United States is trying to push to be the leader of Venezuela. She's been a longtime supporter of violent regime change in Venezuela. She supported these far-right protests in 2014 that left many people dead. She has advocated for United States sanctions on her own people, immiserating them. She wrote to Netanyahu a few years ago asking for help overthrowing Maduro. And she's just been in the pocket of U.S. NGOs and hawks like Marco Rubio for years and years. So she's been forced into hiding because there's an arrest warrant out for her in Venezuela. She, according to some reports, seemingly with the help of the United States, jetted off to Norway to see my homeland here and accept her Nobel Peace Prize award. And as she supports basically military action against her own population, so for peace,
an invasion to empower herself.
This is what she had to say in Norway just a few hours ago.
Hello, David Rasmus on Swedish radio. Yesterday, the US seized a ship outside the coast of Venezuela. Would you welcome a US military intervention in Venezuela?
Look, some people talk about invasion in Venezuela, the threat of an invasion in Venezuela, and I answered, Venezuela has been already invaded. We have the Russian agents, we have the Iranian agents, we have terrorist groups such as Hezbollah, Hamas, operating freely in accordance with the regime.
Just
F the Nobel Prize forever, man.
I know.
Really forever.
It's done. It's done. I mean, well,
What a
it should have been
joke.
done when we gave it to Kissinger.
Or Obama.
Or Obama, even. But it just...
What a joke.
What a joke. Yeah. I mean, Hezbollah. It's Hezbollah. It just...
Hamas is even crazier.
Right. And
Everyone getting along there.
And Hezbollah has left, they have some internationality
Yes.
to them whatsoever.
Yeah, right. It's just like...
Hamas has a tunnel that goes all the way over.
Hamas is a tunnel to Venezuela from Gaza. But it's just like, I mean, how transparent do you have to be? Just, I'm gonna hit every one of them. I'm gonna hit every one of them. It's like when we're in a conversation with somebody and you know they're sucking up to you.
Yeah, are you sure, Ms. Machado, are you sure North Korea isn't in there too?
Right. But don't worry, folks. We have the Democrats, the leader of the Democrats in the Senate. He's going to stand up against this incredibly illegal, obvious, insane move by the Trump administration trying to impose regime change in Venezuela, start a war with Venezuela. Chuck Schumer is on it. He's on it, folks. He is going to draw a distinction. You know, when he was really mad at Trump for doing a side deal with Iran? No side
Diplomacy
deals.
to go against shooting missiles.
No diplomacy. We want more escalation with Iran was his message in response to what the Trump administration
Trump
back
supposedly,
in June.
yeah, not wanting to talk to Iran instead of sending missiles at him.
Yeah. Here he is. This is when Jake Tapper asked him expressly, do you support regime change? Chuck is gonna draw a distinction between the Democrats and Trump.
Do you disagree with President Trump's ultimate goal of regime change in Venezuela?
Look, the bottom line is President Trump throws out so many different things in so many different ways. You don't even know what the heck he's talking about. You know,
Can you pause it?
Obviously,
You know, it's your job to tell the American public what he's doing and what he's talking about. Not to say our political opponent, I can't even define what is bad about what he wants to do. It's just the fact that he does a bunch of different things. Are you joking?
There's any staffers listening to this, print this phrase out. Democrats or Republicans think you're lazy, Democrats think you're stupid. And make sure your boss doesn't play into the latter thing, because they always do. They think we can follow what Trump's doing. He's murdering people in the Caribbean to try to provoke a war, you idiot.
It's insane.
How infantile.
But isn't that? But it's like the Iran thing. No, no side deals. He does this. He does just stand in opposition to this aggression. It's just we'll keep going.
This is Chuck Schumer, who was against the Iran deal.
Yeah.
out so many different things in so many different ways. You don't even know what the heck he's talking about. You know, obviously, if Maduro would just flee on his own, everyone would like that. But we don't know what the heck he's up to when he talks about that. So it's very, very, you cannot say, I endorse this, I endorse that, when Trump is all over the lot, not very specific, and very worrisome at how far he might escalate.
All over the lot was the same phrase he used in that video I talked about. The problem with Trump is not the substance of his actions. It's that he's confusing Chuck. I mean, what more do I need to say? Is there anything else to say? No. Okay. In a moment, we will be speaking to Anthony Aguilar. But first, a word from some of our sponsors. You know, the best way to spread holiday cheer? Gift an Aura frame and keep the family near. When it's around holiday season, it's wonderful to see your family. And sometimes you can't, though. Sometimes you have to send a gift because you can't be with them in person. And even if you are there with them in person, getting something sentimental like that shows that you'll always be with them and that you're thinking of them in that way. And an Aura frame is perfect for that kind of gift around the holidays. Aura frames allow you to share photos and videos effortlessly. You get the frame and you can, straight from your phone all year long, upload photos to the digital frame, and you don't even need to open the box. So when you give it as a gift, all of the photos, videos will be preloaded. And especially, if your parents, your grandparents, they don't see you that much, they love this kind of gift because it reminds them of their loved ones. And you get it in this wonderful gift box. Every frame comes packaged in a premium gift box with no price tag. I've gotten this as a gift before. Sam must have gotten like 8 already by this point. It's the perfect way to show the people in your life that you care. You can't wrap togetherness, but you can frame it. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code MAJORITY at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code MAJORITY. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Again, that's code MAJORITY at checkout. auraframes.com. You can get $35 off the best-selling Carver matte frames by using promo code MAJORITY at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code MAJORITY, and we will put a link down below in the video and episode descriptions and at majority.fm. Another one of our sponsors. Remember that doctor's appointment? That one you were supposed to make a while ago, the one you meant to book, but you got sidetracked and completely forgot about it. You know, that dermatologist appointment for that thing you've been meaning to get checked, or that regular or not so regular checkup. Why not book today? ZocDoc makes it easy to find the right doctor right now, and it is all online. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment. ZocDoc lets you book in-network appointments with more than 100,000 doctors across every specialty. You can filter for doctors near you, who take your insurance, who are a good fit for you. And you can find the type of care that you're looking for, from good bedside manner to no long wait times, to doctors with the best listening skills. And you can see their actual appointment openings, choosing a time slot that works for you, and click instantly to book a visit. Appointments made through ZocDoc also happen fast, typically within 24 to 72 hours of booking, and you can even get same-day appointments. It's excellent. I just can't even believe how easy the interface is to use, and the fact that it just takes all of that awfulness of having to call and play phone tag with the doctor's offices out of the equation. I found my dentist through ZocDoc. Still go to him. Really big fan. As much as you can love going to the dentist, I appreciate my dentist more than my other ones. And I found him through ZocDoc. I'd like to thank ZocDoc for sponsoring today's episode. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/majority to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/majority. ZocDoc.com/majority. ZocDoc.com/majority, and we will put a link down below in the video and episode descriptions and at majority.fm. And lastly, I'd like to thank OneSkin for sponsoring today's episode. If you are like me, your skin needs some extra care this time of year. You got the cold weather drying you out. This time of year is a little stressful too, because you've got so much going on with family. And I've got to recoup from my sunbathing in the summer. That's why I've continued to rely on OneSkin. I love that OS1 face, and I love that OS1 eye cream. It's been invaluable to having my daily routine, helping out with my daily routine. It delivers both powerful skincare and longevity benefits, all with just a few simple steps. The OS1 face is in this like adorable reusable shell. It's really packable. It's easy. It's light. It feels good on your skin. And I'm telling you, that OS1 eye thing is revelatory for me because eye creams are hard to find. It can be very sensitive, that skin in that area around your eyes. But it's really good to be preventative for things like crow's feet and stuff like that. Stay moisturized up there with OneSkin. At the core is their patented OS1 peptide, the first ingredient proven to target senescent cells, the root cause of wrinkles, crepiness, and loss of elasticity, which are all key signs of skin aging. And these results have now been validated in 5 different clinical studies. It's very easy to use. You just cleanse, you pat your skin dry, and apply twice daily. And as I mentioned, that packaging is great. That reusable shell is awesome. It's just a couple of pumps, and it goes on smoothly and easily. And OneSkin also just launched their limited edition holiday sets, including the Nightly Rewind gift set, which is one of those rare gifts that's both impressive and genuinely useful, providing an upgrade to anyone's nightly routine. It features their best-selling face moisturizer, their new peptide lip mask, and a cooling gua sha tool. Each component of the set is designed to work together as your body enters its natural nightly repair mode, helping renew skin at the cellular level for stronger, smoother, and more resilient skin. This season, don't just moisturize. Support your skin at the cellular level with OneSkin. For a limited time, try OneSkin for 15% off using code MAJORITY at oneskin.co/majority. That's 15% off at oneskin.co/majority with code MAJORITY. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please help us and tell them the Majority Report sent you. Try OneSkin today. Link down below in the video and episode descriptions and at majority.fm. Quick break, and then we'll be talking to Anthony Aguilar. We are back, and we are joined now by Anthony Aguilar, a retired United States Army Lieutenant Colonel and whistleblower who worked as a subcontractor in Gaza with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Anthony, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Emma. I appreciate it, and always happy to watch your show too and stay informed.
Well, I appreciate that. I am glad we finally got to have you on because your testimony was so impactful when you came back from Gaza and you spoke exactly about what the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation was doing. Just take us through that. Take us through your decision-making process as to why you decided that you had to speak out after what you saw when you were in Gaza.
So why I had to speak out to not only the world, but really to the American people, is that the situation in Gaza is not one that has just occurred by accident or the fog and friction of war, as Pete Hegseth likes to throw around a lot. It's intentional. It's by design. The level of destruction, the genocide, the designed starvation, which has now led us into the brink of a famine, the setting up of distribution sites to serve as nothing more than bait to displace the civilian population, is something that violates every tenet of the Geneva Conventions and international humanitarian law. And it's so apparent that the United States is not just a innocent bystander, but is complicit. The current situation report that came from the new Civil Military Coordination Center, which was put in Kiryat Yat in Israel as part of the implementation of this peace plan. The the commanding general, a U.S. Army general who is there, has said the Israelis have the lead on this. They are the hand, and we, the United States, are the glove. So we are absolutely complicit in what is happening in Gaza in terms of the munitions that are used. Every bomb, every mortar, every artillery round, every rocket and missile comes from the United States, either through us allowing it or directly providing it. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, set up by the United States as this aid mechanism, was a facade to continue the forced displacement of the entire population from all of central Gaza. So witnessing these things firsthand and seeing that there's no denying it, there's no hiding it, there's no sugarcoating it, there's no justifying it, is something that the American people need to be aware of, how their tax dollars are being spent and how our government is involved in a genocide.
Can you, let's back up for just a second. Can you describe the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation? Initially, Boston Consulting Group, which is a major consulting firm, which Benjamin Netanyahu worked for, by the way, back in the day, was intimately involved in setting up this so-called aid distribution organization, which is really, as you say, a mechanism of ethnic cleansing. And I've heard you describe these aid distribution sites as deliberate death traps. And I want to ask, why you describe them that way in just a bit. But tell us a little bit about what this organization really is.
So the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, I would describe in comparison to British colonial, the East India Company, basically a company that is not providing goods to the population that it is supposed to be servicing, but to provide to the empire. And if you look at why the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation was stood up, it came out of nowhere into existence this past March. So this is not a long-standing, long-enduring, principles-based organization that has proven performance. It just popped up in March, led by a former Blackwater, then Triple Canopy associate named Jake Wood, and then taken over by Mr. Johnny Moore, who is a self-described Christian Zionist evangelist, and no humanitarian aid background in this particular organization. But really, the GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, was really just the candy coating on this hard pill that we were forcing down the throat of the Palestinians, in that you had Safe Reach Solutions and UG Solutions, which were contract companies under the GHF. UG Solutions is who I worked for. Those two companies both popped up in January and February, again, with no past performance. And they hired the Infidels Motorcycle Club to run the armed contract security. And Safe Reach Solutions was owned and run by CIA case officers, covert case officers for that matter. So when you start peeling back the layers on the GHF, Safe Reach Solutions, UG Solutions, it's nothing more than a cover for action for parallel military operations. And when we first went into Gaza, it was my belief as kind of the odd man out, if you will, because I'm not a member of the Infidels Motorcycle Club. I'm not.
Can you explain who those are? I mean, it's an anti-Islamic kind of gang, essentially, or it's a Islamophobic gang, basically. Right?
Precisely, Emma. Yes,
yeah.
It's an Islamophobic motorcycle club, but for lack of better terms, as we would call any other by its name, a gang. And the Infidels Motorcycle Club, what's more concerning specifically to this region in Gaza is that this is not your run-of-the-mill extremist or hate group. In their Islamophobia, they see themselves as crusaders. They wear a tattoo emblazoned with a crusader cross with infidels above it, with 1095 in the bottom rocker, kind of like what you would see on the Sons of Anarchy TV show. And 1095 is the year of the First Crusades, where Pope Urban directed the First Crusade to the Holy Land to eradicate the earth of all the vermin, scum, referring to Muslims. And that is their charter. And you now have an organized motorcycle club made up of military veterans who have an idea that going into the Holy Land to kill Muslims is not only a calling, but they see it as a pilgrimage, as a crusade, if you will. And that's who was hired, specifically hired by the GHF to execute this mission. And I was hired in at the end when they were trying to fill some last minute slots. So I wasn't their ideal recruit, I guess you would say. But very concerning when you see the behavior at these sites of not only the IDF, but also of the UG Solutions American contractors and their complete disregard for international law, humanitarian practice, just basic decency.
Can you talk a little bit about these distribution sites? As I mentioned earlier, you talked about them as death traps. What does that look like? What did you see? How would you describe what Gaza looks like and what these death traps look like in that context?
So, Emma, I've been to a lot of war. In the last 25 years, I have fought in every war the United States has been deployed in, not just Iraq, not just Afghanistan, but Syria, Tajikistan, the Philippines, fighting Islamic insurgency in the south of the Philippines. I've seen some things. I've seen things that when I retired this past March, I just retired 6 months ago. I thought Tony had seen his fill. What I witnessed in Gaza from the very first day, on the 24th of May, when we rolled through the Karim Shalom crossing into Rafah, what I saw made me sick. It broke me. I have never seen or witnessed anything of that level of disproportionality, complete disregard for the civilian population. As we drove through Rafah to the site number 3, so what's interesting about these sites is that under the United Nations and UNRWA, there were 400 distribution sites, community-based outreach. GHF reduced those sites down to 4, and only 1, maybe 2, operated at a time, given 1 or 2 sites operating at most on any given day, whereas once there was 400. And one of the sites in the south was in Rafah. You actually had to drive through the rubble of Rafah to get to it. There was no way around it. So we had to drive through the rubble. And as we were driving through on the 24th of May, we had come to a stop because the IDF had a bulldozer in front of us that was trying to clear a path of just immense destruction. And as we stopped, and I opened the door to stand out to look, you could hear the voices of people.
Oh, 1 second, folks.
I'm back. I'm sorry.
You cut out briefly. You said you could hear the voices of people.
You could hear the voice. Yep. You could hear the voices of people that were still trapped in the rubble that weren't going to be rescued, who died in this rubble. And the distribution sites themselves were deliberately established in the active combat area of this greater war zone. So some might make the argument, well, all of Gaza is a war zone. And that might be true, but in war and in military operations, you have the rear, you have the front lines, you have the support area, you have secure areas, which do exist in Gaza. They deliberately chose to put these distribution sites specifically to service humanitarian aid for unarmed civilians in sites that would require them to move on foot great distance through an active and ongoing combat zone. So as the Palestinians approach these sites, they would literally have to cross the front line, or what's called the FLOT, the forward line of troops, which is, for those that have served in the military, that is dangerous in terms of where the most action is going on. So the front line. So the fact that these sites were specifically set in these locations was greatly concerning, and it came to my knowledge that that was not an accident, that they were established there intentionally.
I just want to linger on what you just said about hearing people screaming under the rubble, and I know that you don't have the ability to answer this scientifically, but it's something I can't let go, because the downplaying of the true death toll in the Western press is manufacturing consent for the continuation of this genocide. People have no idea how bad it is, how many missing people are actually dead, crushed to death, screaming, suffocating to death under rubble. Can you talk about that a little bit, and what the scale of destruction would indicate to you about the death toll in Gaza?
So as I've said, my contextual comparison is years of war, and seeing probably the most I could relate it to is Mosul in the fight against ISIS, or Raqqa in Syria, where once the rubble was cleared and the area was actually back cleared and secured, thousands were found dead in the rubble that weren't part of their original death toll, so to speak. So I've said this before, and I will say it again, and the truth will come out little by little. I believe that the death toll from this war, either by direct action, direct shelling, bombing, or the direct associated wounds, injuries, and death caused in this war, is close to 500,000. And I say that because there are 50 million tons of rubble in Gaza that would take from now until 2050 to clear if we started today. Hundreds, thousands did not make it out of those apartments and schools and hospitals when they were leveled to the ground. And when you see what a 2,000-pound bomb, a joint deployed aerial munition, dropped directly on a 10, 11-story building, and it flattens it to the earth, no one survives that. They're buried in it. And those that live for a very short period of time are merely crying out in their last breaths. I further have belief for that death toll because part of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation's plan, before they were shut down operating within Gaza, had a plan for a humanitarian assistance transit area. Sounds benign. It's basically a concentration camp to move all surviving Palestinians of the operational war to the south to hold them, to then back clear and start reconstruction. Well, that humanitarian assistance transit area was designed to hold 1.5 million people. So if you consider the population to be around 2 million, and the plan was only that there'd be 1.5 million remaining, now that may be calculation of considering people that also left or will leave, the death toll is likely close to 500,000.
Can you speak a little bit about what you're seeing? I know you've been back for months, but just now this, since the Trump imposed ceasefire that Israel has repeatedly broke, the IDF has divided the Gaza Strip into two sections and has essentially commandeered, I think, something around 53% of the Strip. This is a piece of land that's 141 square miles, and they are pushing the Palestinians into a smaller and smaller territory and shooting even young boys, as we've seen their faces, these two siblings who cross this invisible line into the territory that Israel has controlled. Is that the development of the concentration camp that you speak of? What can you talk about that tactic and what that means for the Palestinians right now?
So the world should be very, very concerned about this peace plan that was adopted in UN Resolution 2803. Mm-hmm. The United States gave Israel the ticket to continue what I would call their final solution. If you think about World War I, World War II, most deaths post direct intense conflict was because of death, disease, accidents, famine, etc. in the occupied areas. That's no different than what we'll see here. Thousands will die by these very actions. So how you said it was bisected. So the infamous Netzarim corridor divides northern Gaza, or Gaza City, from central and southern Gaza, or Khan Yunis, and what was once the city of Rafah, which is now completely razed to the ground without one building over 10 feet standing. And that divide, around that divide, they have built or expanded these military corridors to where each pocket is completely surrounded. So it's not only necessarily bifurcating it in half, it's bifurcating it in half and then creating two salients, if you will, the Gaza city and then Khan Yunis Rafah. And where they established this yellow line that they call it, if you were to go and stand at the yellow line and measure that area behind the yellow line that's now under the control of the IDF, as you said, that's about 53%. But they've given themselves a 10-meter buffer off of that yellow line forward, that anybody that encroaches upon that yellow line can be killed. And this is not a yellow line where you see like when you're watching a football game and this magic line comes on and everybody can see it. This is an imaginary line that's only enforced by whichever IDF soldier is there at the time who feels where the yellow line should be.
And
so
you
really,
also say this buffer zone too. I mean, Israel is infamous for creating buffer zones that end up just getting larger and larger, which is just the way that they seize more territory. So it's more than the 53% that you've even been describing here. It's a great majority of the Strip. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is upwards of about 62% of the entire Gaza Strip that is under the total complete occupation. And the reason this is not necessarily a surprise to me is that if we recall back to August, Israel began its offensive into Gaza City, which they called Operation Gideon Chariots 2. That operation was not supposed to begin until late September. They started it early and called up 60,000 reserves to pack into Gaza to hold the South, because they knew that they were running out of time. They knew that the world was growing leery of what was actually happening when so much was coming out to where you couldn't hide the fact of what's happening anymore. So they accelerated that operation, but it's always been the plan. And this is where I'm deeply concerned as an American, and why I'm doing everything I can to notify, inform, and educate lawmakers, is that the Boston Consulting Group, as you alluded to in the beginning, which Netanyahu worked for, which was part of the design of this plan, those designs, the planning for these, for this demilitarized area, holding area, reconstruction area, then to then construct a Riviera and resorts with this beautiful artistic rendering of the future of Gaza with high rail train and a Riviera and resorts. That plan was designed in 2021. I've seen it. It hung on the wall of the headquarters of the Coordinating Office of the Governance of Activity in the Territories of the IDF, Boston Consulting Group. So the United States has had a direct hand in not only how this operation is ongoing, but what the true objective and intent is. And the true objective is intent is that every Palestinian within Gaza will either be dead or voluntarily transferred somewhere else, and they will never come back. I think even on your show maybe about a year ago, or not too long ago, but it was a clip from about a year ago with Jared Kushner talking about this very thing, what he called the IDF would be cleaning Gaza. This plan that the Boston Consulting Group developed, that Jared Kushner had a very integral part in, and so did Steve Witkoff and Steve Witkoff's son. So did Bibi Netanyahu. Since 2021. So when I hear October 7th, 2023 as the date, I'm skeptical about what was truly the intent and the nature and the way it looks to me based on the continuation of this genocide. There is no ceasefire. I'm in contact with families and actual human beings in Gaza daily, and I see it and I hear it, and the bombs that are dropping. There's not a ceasefire, and it puts the entire future of this region in a precarious situation, because now we have the administration rushing to get to this phase 2, to hurry up and get to phase 2, without addressing the fact that they have brought no Palestinians to the table in this negotiation. And they are adamant about Hamas disarming. Yet Israel hasn't upheld their end of this ceasefire agreement from October 10th to cease the bombing, to pull back their forces beyond the yellow line, out of Gaza to the border, and to allow the free flow of all humanitarian aid. They are still not allowing aid in any numbers that can feed the population. They are starving them every day.
And let alone the storm that is hitting Gaza right now. We already have a little girl that froze to death due to the elements. And these people that are in tents right now are in dire straits, obviously. But Anthony Aguilar, retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel, whistleblower who worked in Gaza with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. I really appreciate your time today. And thank you so much for speaking out and giving a voice and saying what you've seen, because I think it makes a difference, even though, of course, the genocide is still ongoing. But brick by brick, we build up an opposition here. Thanks so much for your time today.
And thank you and Sam for your courage and your platform, because it takes courage to continue to speak the truth. And I appreciate everything you do for humanity.
Well, thank you so much. Quick break, folks, and when we come back, we're going to be talking to Melat Kiros, who is running in Colorado's 1st Congressional District. We are back, and we are joined now by Melat Kiros, candidate for Colorado's 1st Congressional District. Melat, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Excited to talk to you, and congratulations on being endorsed by Justice Democrats. I think, what are you, the 6th candidate that Justice Democrats has endorsed so far? Tell us a little bit about that and that endorsement and what that means to you.
Yeah, definitely. We are so excited to have gotten their endorsement. Justice Democrats have been doing the work for years now of trying to address the problem of do-nothing Democrats in Congress, where they are actively in bed with these corporations that are singularly responsible for the affordability crisis that we're seeing today. And the only way we are actually going to get to the solutions like Medicare for all, housing first, universal childcare, is if we replace them in Congress and put people that are actually going to fight for working people in this country.
You rattled off your policy platforms right at the beginning like a pro. I was going to go plank by plank with you, but you're a supporter of Medicare for all. That's enormous. Tell us a little bit about why you chose to support Medicare for all.
Absolutely. You know, at the end of the day, if we need to be achieving universal health care, right? And Medicare for all is the most efficient, effective, and economical proposal that we have to do that. It's going to save taxpayers thousands of dollars in premiums that they're paying right now to all these middlemen health insurance companies that are just sucking Americans dry and profiting off of sickness and pain, when every other developed and wealthy country in the world has universal health care. We should have the same thing here.
And universal childcare is also a part of your platform. I was reading some statistics about how over the past 5 or so years, the cost of childcare has just grown exponentially across the country. What are you hearing in your district about what people are experiencing when they try to get care for their kids?
I mean, trying to get childcare is like trying to pay for a second rent or a second mortgage, right? It is that inaccessible to a lot of young people. And I'm 28 and I have absolutely no means available right now to even think about starting a family because it is that inaccessible. And I grew up here in Denver where both of my parents were working to put my dad through pharmacy school. And so I had aunts and uncles, like I would stay with them on the weekends while my parents got to work. It was because they had that kind of access to childcare in the community that they were able to build the kind of life that they did for me and my little sister. That kind of community isn't accessible to everyone in this country. And especially if you are working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, the idea of having a child is just totally out of reach for people. We need to have universal childcare because children are really the future of this country. And we need to be doing everything to make sure that we're giving them the very best start.
In terms of the other parts of your policy platform, climate change, do you support things like a Green New Deal? Would that be something you would sign on to if you were able to get into Congress?
Yeah, without question. The Green New Deal, I think is, it's been a while since it was first proposed. So there are going to be some adjustments that we're going to need to make in there. And I think one of those things is going to be related to AI.
Right.
There are a lot of questions that we need to get answered on that front. But absolutely, we need to be pushing for renewable energies that are going to, secure our grid, make sure it's strong for working Americans today. And it's a particular issue for us here in Denver because Diana DeGette, the Democrat that I'm challenging, is in bed with a lot of these big energy companies. And when you are literally taking money from the very companies that are actively responsible for our rising rates in this country, you cannot be the ones who hold them accountable. And so to have someone say that with a straight face, that they're going to be the ones that helps address the rising energy prices, it's just ridiculous.
Tell us a little bit about these AI data centers in Denver. This is becoming an increasingly important issue, I think, for politicians to address because they're polluting communities, they're driving up electricity bills, and they're kind of particularly focusing on or building in frontline communities, oftentimes people of color as well. I would imagine Denver is not an exception in that.
Yeah, I mean, the way these AI data centers are being built is they're operating in the dark, right? They are using the insidious nature of the relationship between corporations and politicians so that they can quietly get their permits approved and quietly move into these neighborhoods where they are polluting the waters or draining the energy grids of these areas and these communities. What we saw in Tucson, Arizona, not too long ago, where the communities actually rallied to prevent the building of something like this, that needs to be the model where we are actively giving back the power to the communities where they are targeting so we can make sure that people understand what is the actual risk that's being posed by these data centers, what impact is it going to have on the water, on the energy use, so that if communities do not want that in their backyard, they have the power to say no, even though their politicians are in these pockets and are trying to push it through quietly. That's what we really need to address.
You also, in part, I was reading, there was an article about you in The Intercept, and I hadn't realized this, that in 2023, you actually lost your job because you wrote a post online speaking about how it was wrong for certain law firms, including your own, to be vocally against the anti-genocide demonstrations and pro-Palestine protests. Can you take us back to 2023, your post, and what your political evolution has been since you were let go by your job over speaking out for Palestine?
Yeah, it was November of 23. I was seeing the students that were losing their job offers and getting fired because they were demonstrating against the genocide that was happening in Palestine. And I'm from Ethiopia, where there was a civil war and a genocide against Tigray for a few years there. And I demonstrated myself. And so, I just could not believe that there were firms that were actively trying to prevent them from being able to just use their freedom of speech to advocate for basic human rights. And so I wrote that article. I was asked to take it down. I said no. and without hesitation, because at the end of the day, standing up to power for our most basic values of human rights and standing up against genocide is the bare minimum that we need to be requiring of these institutions, and especially of the people that are in power right now. And, the most revealing thing to me at that time was that after I did get fired, I got a lot of messages from people around the world. And there was a message that I got from another attorney. She just found out that she was pregnant. She hadn't told anyone at her firm. She hadn't even told some members of her family. And she said that, I wish I could have spoken out, but I can't risk losing my health insurance when I have a baby on the way. And that's how quickly I realized that we're not living in a free market. We're living in a coercive market where these institutions and a lot of these employees are using their power over us because we can't afford our rent, we can't afford our health care, we can't afford our groceries. And so we're stuck in these jobs that are stifling our freedom of speech and preventing us from being able to speak truth to power and stand up to things like genocide, especially when it's our tax dollars that are funding these kinds of war crimes. And so, it was the greatest decision I've ever made because it really reminded me about where the real fight has to be. And that's in the halls of power in Congress, so that we can change the balance of power, so that we have people that are actually fighting for everyday working people and are not afraid to stand up for basic human rights and to stand against genocide.
That coercion cuts across a variety of different things, like healthcare being tied to your employment is coercive. And I mean, it fits. It's both free speech and healthcare in the story of one of your colleagues. Immigration too, using the threat of deportation on workers is a way that there's leverage being used and keeping people in situations that they don't want to be in. You mentioned your father and the fact that he was going through pharmacy school. I know that you're an immigrant. Your family are immigrants. Can you speak a little bit about your background and why you feel that your voice is needed in Congress?
Yeah, I immigrated here in '98 when I was a baby. My dad was selected on the diversity visa lottery program, which is I'm here by chance, right? And we talk a lot about the right way to immigrate here. I immigrated here on a lottery system. We get to decide what the immigration system looks like. And the fact of the matter is, the American people agree that immigration helps our country. It is what makes us great. And they want to see more humane systems so that the people that are brave enough to leave everything behind, like my parents did, in the hopes of starting a better life in this country, we need to make it so that they're able to do that. And they're able to do it without spending tens of thousands of dollars or taking 10 plus years to get through the process. There's no reason for that to be the case. And for us as a party to allow Republicans to have scapegoated the immigrants in this country for the affordability crisis that we're facing in this country, it's absolutely absurd. We should be rejecting this notion from the very beginning and talking about the real people responsible for the affordability crisis in this country, which is the corporations that a lot of these establishment Democrats are in bed with, including Diana DeGette, who I'm primarying in this challenge today.
I want to talk a little bit about your opponent in just a second, but I also want to make sure people realize you support an arms embargo to Israel. They may have inferred that given the strength of your statements on this particular topic, but that's also, of course, very important to our audience. Can you speak a little bit about the state of the Democratic Party in Colorado? Like, your governor sucks. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it. It reminds me a little of Pennsylvania, where it's like it's a state that's moved blue, but it's not blue in the way that, like, it's more progressive. There's Democrats that are pretty centrist that are running the show. What's your viewpoint about where the Democrats are in Colorado?
Yeah, I mean, this is why I'm so excited to have Justice Democrats on our side, right? Because this is a question of what kind of Democrats are we putting into power. I've spent way too long watching these politicians who've been in power for decades at a time. Diana DeGette has been in office for 30 years, longer than I've been alive.
Longer than you've been alive, right?
Longer than I've been alive. And they have been in bed with these corporations, including people like our Governor Polis, where we're talking about big pharma, big energy, defense contractors that are actively responsible for, deregulating, defunding, privatizing a lot of the institutions that their generation once enjoyed, all because they're in bed with these corporations that are benefiting from these actions. So it's this relationship between corporations and establishment Democrats that's responsible for the crises that we're facing today, the only way we can actually address this problem is by voting them out. We have existential crises that we're facing, especially my generation, with the democracy, with the economy, with the planet right now. We can't afford to wait for our turn. We can't afford to ask for permission. We just have to run, remove them from power, and change the balance of power in Congress so that we can fight for the things like universal child care, housing first, and Medicare for all. That's how we address the affordability crisis and actually fight for working people in this country.
Your opponent, as you mentioned, Diana DeGette, she was elected before you were even born. She's been in Congress for nearly 30 years. What is her record, and why are you primarying her? And I guess what are some of the biggest contrasts you would say between you and your opponent?
It's the corporate PAC money at the end of the day. Diana DeGette has been in office longer than I've been alive. When she got elected, the #1 song in the country was the Macarena. Like, we're talking about a fundamental change in the fabric of this country since the time that she's been elected. And in that time, prices have soared for housing, for healthcare, for childcare, making it untenable for everyday working people to build the kind of dignified lives that people in her generation used to be able to. And so for her to be in bed with the very corporations that are responsible for getting us into this mess, big pharma, big energy, defense contractors that are shipping our tax dollars overseas to fund a genocide. She cannot, with a straight face, tell us that she's going to be the best person to get us out of this mess when she was at the helm as these crises were unfolding. She cannot, her, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, all these people that were responsible for getting us here, they've got to go. At the end of the day, we can't wait for our turn. We need to put people in Congress that are going to be accountable to the people, not to their wealthy donors, not to the corporate PACs. And that's what I've made a promise to the people in this district. I will never take a dime in corporate PAC money. That has to be the litmus test for every single Democrat we elect in the midterms and going forward from now on. No votes for corporate shills, period.
I know that you've been endorsed by Track AIPAC, not taking any AIPAC money. What is your opponent's record on Israel and with AIPAC money?
She's taken over almost $100,000 from AIPAC. She is currently still refusing to sign on to the Block the Bombs Act, despite 80% of Democrats wanting an arms embargo on Israel right now. This is at the end of the day, we're talking about a massive disconnect from the needs of the American voters and the responsiveness of the Democratic Party. We have not delivered for people and actually listened to what the Democratic voters want since Obamacare. And even then, that was a Band-Aid addressing the healthcare crisis. We cannot allow for there to be this much of a gap in between the 80% of Democratic voters that want an arms embargo and the 20% of Democrats in Congress that are willing to sign on for it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, really excited about your run. Can you tell people where they can support and how they can best support? For people that don't realize, this is Colorado's first congressional district. It's Denver area, right? I mean, tell us a little bit about
all of
the
Denver.
District. All of Denver. Wow. So how blue is this district?
So blue. This is an extremely blue seat. This is an extremely blue city. We are so progressive. We have term limits. We have universal pre-K. We have a small donor matching program, the same thing that helped propel Zohran to a win in New York City. We should have a representative, right? That's the thing that I'm calling for too, is a national donor matching program to level the playing field so that candidates like myself that are not taking a dime in corporate PAC money or money from groups like AIPAC can actually compete with people like Diana DeGette who are taking millions of dollars from these corporate PACs. And so to have a city this blue, this progressive, we deserve a representative who reflects those values. And so really the greatest way to get involved is if you live in Denver, go to our website, kirosforcode.com, sign up to volunteer. We're going to be knocking on doors. We're going to outwork and out-organize DeGette at every single turn until June 30th on the primary date. And if you don't live in our district, then please, if you can, donate. We cannot compete with the kind of money that people like DeGette are putting up without this help and support from small donors across this country. If you can donate $5 or $10 on a recurring basis, that is going to make all of the difference. And you can do that at kirosforcode.com too.
All right, just booking my flight to Denver now to door knock. When you said the national matching funds thing, I mean, that's the kind of nerdy stuff that's just music to my ears.
I will always nerd out on that stuff without question. I mean, it made a massive difference for Zohran, right? Like, once in a generation political talent, but that infrastructure made all of the difference when you saw all of that corporate money and billionaire money pouring into the city. That's the kind of transformative policies we need to see Democrats fighting for.
Yeah, really, it keeps you competitive. And we need that kind of national program. So I really appreciate your time today. We will put a link to your website where people can donate or volunteer and help out. Melat Kiros, candidate for Colorado's 1st congressional district. That's Denver. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Of course. Bye. With that, gonna wrap up the free part of this show, the Majority Report. That's what it's called. Head into the fun half shortly. But I do just want to remind people, we have the Max Left beanies. The Max Left beanies are on the website, shop.majorityreportradio.com. You got to go there if you want one of those beanies. We had the hats before, but now we've got the beanies. And
whistles are back as well.
Oh, and the whistles. Okay. It's what was I talking about?
The beanies.
Okay, thanks. I'm literally speechless. Okay, yeah. Matt throwing.
I want to make a comment.
Yes.
Melat mentioned the Macarena. I remember being in 1st grade music class and learning the dance moves to Macarena. Probably the last dance I ever learned. But yeah, I remember that going off, and it's crazy that somebody's been in Congress for that entire time.
Right. The whistles are up there, yes. They have been reordered, it seems like, so we're going to have some. But go to shop.majorityreportradio.com to get these Max Left beanies. And if you order by December 16th, so a week, well, no, it's next Tuesday, I guess, then they should arrive by Christmas Eve. You can't guarantee that, but if you want it for Christmas, you want to get a gift for somebody who might be a fan of the show, got to order by December 16th. The Max Left beanie on shop.majorityreportradio.com. Matt, what's happening on Left Reckoning with Jacobin?
Left Reckoning, we had a great show. Well, actually, let me plug the Jacobin. Tomorrow, Jacobin show, we're talking to Paul Heidemann about the GOP, Newt Gingrich, and all of this stuff. Go subscribe to the Jacobin show. Our show with Jasper, I just found out, did in fact get buried because we were talking about settler violence in the West Bank, and for some reason YouTube doesn't flash that to people's even subscribers. Don't even get notifications about that stuff. So but we are doing a show for Jacobin over at the @JacobinMeg YouTube channel every Friday, so look forward to that tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time, folks, and it's only available on YouTube.
Hey.
Brandon, hey,
what's going on?
What's happening on the discourse?
Well, actually, tons of stuff is happening on the discourse. So much that I can't really properly encapsulate it all in one sentence. So you should just go over to the YouTube or the Twitter channel, The Discourse with Brandon, and just see what's going on right now. I will say we have, and I know this is not a huge milestone for most YouTubers, but for me, it was very important. We hit over 10,000. We have over 10,000 on the YouTube channel, roaring towards 11,000. And I have to, speaking of beanies, I do have to thank Tim Pool, because it really was the clip about the shooting at his compound that pushed us over the edge. Well, I guess I shouldn't have put compound in scare quotes, because the compound is real.
The compound is real, and he has no idea how he's going to sell that property at this point, which is the thing that we're most concerned about here.
After someone fires a gun at me, supposedly, that's the main thing I'm worried about is, God, the resale value on this.
I mean, if you're buying that story, I certainly don't think it played out the way he said it played out, but a lot of things could have happened.
Come on.
Tim Pool? Yeah, no, never.
Never.
I will say I'm excited about the Max beanie. I tried to wear a beanie in solidarity with Tim after the shooting for a few minutes on the show, but I was too weak to pull it off, honestly. It made my head itch, and I felt like it made me really uncomfortable, looking at myself in beanied for the entire show. And so like I just took it off. And so I think that like if nothing else, I can admit that he's a bigger man than I am on that front.
Braving the discomfort.
He has the opposite situation where when he doesn't have it on, his head itches and he feels uncomfortable. You're just both doing the same thing of avoiding discomfort.
It's a spectrum.
Well, with that said, we don't have Matt Binder yet. Oh, yes, we do. Oh my goodness! Look at
He's
that.
right there.
There he is. Hello, Matt Binder.
Hello.
What's happening with your shows?
Yeah, sure. I believe we're discussing because Mike from the Humanist Report is officially on his break for Christmas. But I believe we should be having a Leftist Mafia tonight at 8:30 p.m. at youtube.com/Matt Binder.
Check it out, folks. All right, we will head into the fun half where we will we'll read your IMs and maybe take a call or two. We shall see. See you in the fun half.
Okay, Emma, please.
Well, I feel that my voice is sorely lacking on the majority report.
Wait. Look, Sam is unpopular.
I do deserve a vacation at Disney World. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome Emma to the show.
It is Thursday.
I think you need to take over for Sam.
Yes, please.
No. I'm gonna pause you right there.
Wait, what?
You can't encourage Emma to live like this. And I'll tell you why. So was offered to tour, sushi, and poker with the boys. Tour, sushi, and poker with the boys. So was offered to tour, sushi, and poker with the boys. What? Tour, sushi, and poker.
Tim's upset.
Tour, sushi, and poker with the boys. So was offered to tour, sushi, and
that's what we call the biz.
Tour, sushi, and poker with the boys.
Right.
Tour, sushi, and poker.
We're gonna get demonetized.
I just think that what you did to Tim Pool was mean.
Free speech.
That's not what we're about here. Look at how sad he's become now. You shouldn't even talk about it. I think you're responsible.
I probably am in a certain way, but let's get to the meltdown here.
Tour, sushi, and poker with the boys.
Oh my God.
Tour,
wow.
Sushi. I'm sorry, I'm losing my fucking mind. So was offered a tour, sushi, and poker with the boys.
Logic.
Tour, sushi, and poker with the boys. Boy. Tour.
I think I'm like a little kid. I think I'm like a little kid. I think I'm like a kid.
Tour.
I think I'm like a little kid. I think I'm like a little kid.
Had this debate 7,000 times.
A little kid. I think I'm like a little kid. I think I'm like a kid.
Tour. I'm losing my fucking mind.
Some people just don't understand.
So I'm not trying to be a dick right now, but like, I absolutely think the U.S. should be providing me with a wife and kids.
That's not what we're talking about here. Okay, all right.
It's not a fun job. Tour? That's a real thing. That's a real thing. Real thing. Willy Wonka tour? That's a real thing. That's a real thing. Real thing. What's that offered a tour? That's a real thing. That's a real thing. Real thing. That's a real thing. That's a real thing. Real thing. What's that offered a tour?
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Rogan has done it again.
That offered a tour? That's a real thing. That's poker with the boys.
I think he might be blowing it out of proportion.
Real thing. That's poker with the boys. That offered a tour? That's a real thing. That's poker.
Let's go, Joe.
Tour, sushi, and poker with the boys.
Take it easy, Dan.
Tour, sushi, and poker.
Things have really gotten out of hand.
Sushi, and poker with the boys.
Delusional.
Tour,
Deluded.
sushi.
You don't have a clue as to what's going on. Live YouTube.
Sam has like the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Sam
Sam doesn't want to do this show anymore. It was so much easier when the majority report was just you. You were happy.
Let's change the subject.
Rangers and Knicks are doing great.
Now shut up. You don't want people saying reckless things on your program.
That's one of the most difficult parts about this show.
This is a pro-killing podcast.
I'm thinking maybe it's time we bury the hatchet.
Left is best. Trump Violet
Tour.
Don't be foolish and don't fucking tweet at me and don't bitch. The way Emma has cucked all of these people, love it.
That's where my heart is, so I wrote my honors thesis about it.
Oh, she wrote an honest thesis. I guess I should hand the main mic to you now.
You are to the right of me on foreign policy.
We already fund Israel, dude. Are you against that?
That's a tougher question I don't have an answer to.
Incredible theme song.
Hi, Bumbler.
Emma Vigeland, absolutely one of my favorite people. Actually, not just in the game, like period.
We are back, folks. It is the fun half of the Majority Report. Working on the phones right now. We'll read some IMs. Kowalski from Nebraska. I would like to plug my channel, Prairie Fire Neb, 2 weeks ago. You all graciously helped promote my channel, and my subscribers have nearly doubled since then to over 5K. And I have almost 25,000 additional views since then. I dropped a new video this morning and have 2 in the works, one of which is discussing Israeli agriculture. There is, thank you, Matt. There's a narrative that there are big technological innovators in the space. They are not, and I will prove it mathematically. Check out Prairie Fire Neb, Kowalski's channel. It's phenomenal, folks. Former libertarian, Iran's restraint in not starting a war is a microcosm of what the belligerent right wing always gets to deal with. The restraint or even compliance of the Democratic Party in this country while the Republicans push to the logical conclusion of fascism has been an infuriating narrative during my lifetime. Yeah. NC Socialists, my tenants are getting beaten up in my property. Won't someone think of my resale value? Former libertarian, the Ohio governor race is tied. Please, Ohio, do not make Vivek your governor. Preston from Boulder, excited that you guys are talking with Melat Kiros. We need leaders in Colorado that actually get things done. I was very impressed. I was impressed based on what I saw of her platform, but I'm even more impressed now that I heard her speak. She's good.
Great candidate.
Great candidate.
And in a very blue district like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no reason that you should have such a corporate Democrat representing that district. Dizzle McFizzle, wow, it's so exciting to see America help women break the glass ceiling with a female dictator. That's about Machado. Plumber Girl 503, I want to say I'm an MR member and fan, and also a fan and follower of Blakely. That said, I agree with their... I don't know who that is. That said, I agree with their criticisms of your interview with Mamdani. I agree with MR's assessment that he must succeed in his agenda, but I still want to see you hold his feet to the fire on the essential values that a left-wing media station ought to. You understand how many times we've been let down by politicians of any kind.
I do, but we asked the question about the challenge to Jeffries. Like, the thing about the... if in Congress, which you're not a part of, you're a mayor of New York... the current leader of the party becomes the speaker. Like, I just don't think that's as important. But if people want to emphasize, like, make that seem more important than the thing, which he's clear about, that he doesn't want to prioritize with his political capital a challenge to Hakeem Jeffries right now. Like,
Yeah, I think, and then you can make it. It's so obvious too. Like his answer when I said, "Are you going to rule out supporting primary challenges in other races?" and he said no. And then we have him backing Brad Lander against Dan Goldman. It's like he can't support every primary challenge if he wants to get his agenda across, especially the speaker. And that is like the cold-hearted political decision, that calculus that he made. And frankly, I don't just like, I don't say this lightly, but I like that he's a bit of a bastard about this. Like, the most progressive presidents in the history of this country, and Mamdani is going to be mayor, but that's a very difficult position. We're bastards. Like LBJ twisting arms, getting into fights. FDR, of course, was ruthless. You have to be able to make tough choices that set you up in the best possible way to get your agenda across. And I think Zoran has that in a way that, love Bernie, love that interview the other day. I don't think Bernie necessarily had it. He played patty cakes with Joe Biden in that 2020 race. Like, Zoran's very strategic, and I like that about him.
Like I think Hakeem Jeffries is a problem, and I would love for him to lose his seat. And definitely him and Chuck Schumer are not acceptable leaders for any kind of left of center opposition. This is stuff we know. How do you prioritize going about doing something about it? Do you, again, like open up all fronts on that? And I just think the weird thing of I think the more salient question is, should we challenge Hakeem Jeffries? Not like, do you think Congress should do some sort of revolt against his speakership? And then put who in speaker? I don't know if the left has enough power over the entirety of the Democratic caucus to be put in that position themselves now.
AOC doesn't seem to think so either.
Where we're at right now, I think, is you need to have. There's going to be an intervening stage. You know, look, fine. If Qassar or someone, you can put them in charge of the entire party. Great. You know what? I tend to think that the party's not ready to listen and disciplined enough to fall behind someone like that. I think more important is building up power to pressure that sort of those sorts of folks. Like, for instance, Hochul, right? Like, she's already said, like, oh, I'm the type of person that the more you tell me to do something, the less I'm likely to do it. Well, that's not true, because you've already folded on congestion pricing, and we're already starting to move her on taxing the rich. I think that is better than us being in charge of a party that I think is still failing and taking on water. So I think like Zoran's calculation is a smart one, but I would say if DSA voted against over his standards and said we actually want to support this challenge, I would support that too. And I also think it was smart of Zoran to say that's not my priority because I'm focused on New York. Kind of like when he said I'm focused on New York and not going to Israel. Like, he's the mayor of a city right now. He's been charged with, and not any city. I'm sorry to be a New York supremacist. It's New York fucking city. Like, he doesn't want to be spending the next year of his thing talking about how his like main thing is challenging Hakeem Jeffries. I'm sorry for all the people in the rest of the country that wish that was his priority.
No, I think that's right. My one issue was that he got involved in an effort to actually curtail it, like specifically to suggest that DSA not endorse. That was sort of my one issue. I thought it would have been much better if he was just like, I'm not endorsing, you know, and just not that would be his response for everything. Like when he was asked,
but he's a member,
not getting
and
involved with this race. Yeah, but he also has a lot of. He has power. He has a lot of sway. Yeah. So,
but he should use his power.
I mean, that's the thing is like, is it if he's wrong and he does get bit in the ass by this, then it is going to be for all the people who voted for the challenge, further, you know, for the next fight. But I think once these sorts of processes have been gone through, and I do think it is Zoran's prerogative. Like when we asked him about that, he said, well, this was private, but it got leaked out, right? Like it wasn't something he wanted to make a public issue. He was asked what his position on it was. And if it leaked out that his position was go for Jeffries, then that's the thing he's asked about instead of how you're going to deliver on the agenda. It's how are we doing this intra-party thing. And I do think the intra-party fight is central, but I think you can't, again, this is about, it is really like politics is war by, you know, in another form. You need to be smart about what fronts you're opening up at which time.
Right. In that respect, though, DSA also has to realize where they are now. Their stuff is going to leak. People are looking at them very closely now, and they're in the forefront now. They're in the spotlight. And that's great, but all the negatives that come with it are going to come along with the positives too.
Yep.
I just think the process needs to be somewhat respected, and I think this is a problem I've had with DSA people on both sides of these issues, whether from the more principled to the more pragmatic. Both sides, when they have fights, and it's been like actually gone through the process in DSA, and it's been decided through that, then go on to social media to complain about it for a while. I don't think it makes the socialists look good. And so that's why I'm a little bit frustrated that this sort of thing keeps getting like rehashed. But if people think it's so important, I guess we'll continue to spend more and more time on it.
Yeah. Speaking of, though, let's, now that we're here, speaking of primary challenges, Brad Lander has jumped into the race for New York 10. That is my district. Last night, I went to his launch party, got to experience that. It was very fun and very supportive of this primary challenge to Dan Goldman. We're talking about Melat Kiros, this excellent progressive who we just spoke to, running in Colorado's 1st district, which is Denver. It's incredibly blue, but they have an incumbent Democrat, corporate Democrat, that's been there for nearly 30 years at this point. There's no reason that a deep blue district should have a representative like that. Very similar in New York 10. Dan Goldman made his name by being, you know, a lawyer that stood up to Trump, and his whole shtick is, I'm the guy that stands up to Trump. I saw some reporting or a quote that Brad Lander gave to the Daily News, saying, talking about Gaza. On Gaza, we have some disagreements, but the core rationale is because it's time for fighters, not folders. Basically speaking about how according to the Daily News, his disagreements with Goldman on Gaza is secondary to what he sees as his lackluster opposition to Trump. I like Lander a lot. I hope that is not his tactic, because I actually think that's playing right into Goldman's hands.
Yeah.
So
that's what Goldman's known for. That's his whole thing. His opposition to Trump. That's why those libs in your district like him so much. They don't like the other stuff about him that Lander needs to take advantage of.
Yeah. So I don't like that quote, but overall, of course, I'm going to be supportive of Lander's candidacy. He's running to the left of Dan Goldman. He has already gotten the endorsements of Zoran Mamdani, of Bernie Sanders, of Elizabeth Warren, as well,
Emma Vigeland.
the WFP. Sorry, and myself, of course. I should have led with that.
Right. Emma, as seen on CNN, Vigeland.
Okay. Well, and so, I hope that, Lander reconsiders that, because I do think that perhaps he's underestimating how galvanizing this kind of thing is. But Goldman wins on low turnout. He also won in the first place in 2021 based on a split field. You had a variety of different progressive candidates that jumped in that race, and he rose to the top because the progressives, Yuli knew, and then you had Mondaire Jones. Like, they cannibalize one another. And so he has a lot of weaknesses in terms of not having a ton of enthusiasm. But Lander's going to have to work to drive enthusiasm. And I think a lot of how you can do that is by leaning into the fact that, like, you are not an AIPAC Democrat and he's an AIPAC Democrat, for example.
I also live in this district, and I've seen the Dump Dan Goldman rally. I happened across it several weeks ago before this announcement was announced, and they've gotten behind Lander. And this is a moment for progressives, because Zoran Mamdani, a socialist, won, not a progressive.
Mm-hmm.
And if he doesn't perform well in this race, then I think because let's make it clear, other left candidates got out of the way for him to do this.
Yep. DSA did.
Yep. And Alexa Viles, I think is her name.
Yep.
So that's who I would have who would have supported, because just ideologically, that's what I prefer. I think Lander does deserve, because of the service he gave Zoran in the campaign, this. And he's, but it's a big... it's a big responsibility.
Yep.
And I don't like that. The Dump Dan Goldman thing, that's talking about his AIPAC donations. That's what people are pissed off about. You walk around this district, you see Free Palestine posters all over people's windows. Like, it's not secondary. It's not secondary at all.
Yeah. And so I think Lander has a lot to live up to in that way, because the left cleared the field for him, really. And I like that we're not making the mistakes of the past that I just mentioned with vote splitting on the left. Yeah. But here, with all of that said, here is Dan Goldman speaking to Pix 11 News on his thoughts about Brad Lander jumping into the race in New York 10.
Said that he is going to run for Congress and challenge you. So first and foremost, before we get into some specifics, let me get your take and your reaction to the fact that you now have a challenger in Brad Lander.
I welcome Brad to the race. I'm not really thinking about this right now. I'm in Washington, really focused on making sure that healthcare will not be taken away from millions of people. We are focused on the immigration dragnet that Donald Trump is sweeping the country with, and that is disappearing people who are lawfully applying for immigration status in this country, taking them out of courthouses, taking them off the streets away from their families. So I'm really laser focused on the work we're doing right now, and politics will have to wait till 2026.
Okay. I mean, that is something that Lander's also running on, right? The fact of immigration, he was arrested and he's facing a lawsuit right now. I get it. But I spoke to him this morning about his video, which had some veiled threats that were thrown your way. I know you want to focus on politics right now overall and the affordability crisis, but I wanted to get your reaction to something he said earlier.
Can you pause
so take
it?
a listen to it. In the law.
I'm sorry, but yeah, we're about to play the very scary. gang member Brad Lanter.
Who
Another
literally
JJ.
he
No J
sings
Jones
Mr.
here.
Rogers.
Yeah. Wait, what did you say, Brandon?
Got another J Jones here. You know, you gotta really.
Yeah, let's see what these threats are from the incredibly terrifying Brad Lanter.
Make sure you lock your doors.
In the launch video, you said that the mayor-elect can have an ally in Washington instead of an adversary in his own backyard. So why do you believe at this point in time that Mr. Goldman would be an adversary to the mayor-elect and not an ally in D.C.?
Yeah, I mean, look, the primary was the time for Democrats to debate who was going to be the nominee. I ran and then cross-endorsed Zoran. But in the general election, I thought all Democratic leaders should support our nominee for mayor over somebody who's a sexual harasser. And yeah, that's the kind of energy we need right now. We can't solve all our problems in New York City alone. We need fighters in Washington who will work together with the mayor to deliver that city that everyone can afford and to stand up to what the president is doing.
So you heard him right there. He comes after you for the fact that you didn't support Zoran.
I mean, not really a threat, but okay.
Donnie, right?
You didn't hear the gunshots that he fired off? Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah. He's like, I got that bang on me.
Do you regret that? Did that put a target on your back?
Sorry.
Look, I made my feelings clear about why I did not endorse Zoran. I did not endorse anyone. I stayed out of the race. But it was never about his affordability agenda, which I support and have always supported.
It was about him being Muslim.
I worked with Zoran actually on a pilot program for the free bus fares. I have, as I mentioned earlier, been a huge supporter of universal child care long before this mayoral race, and strongly believe that that is a necessary future. I have been working on the front lines here in Washington to address that affordability agenda, and I have spoken with Zoran several times since the election, offered to work with him, eager to work with him, specifically mentioned he and I discussed the Department of Community Safety. As a former prosecutor, I want to support that idea because
Yeah, well,
why didn't you
endorse him?
Yeah, why didn't you endorse Zoran? And then on that note, why hasn't Zoran endorsed you if you're so locked in step with him? Why did Zoran just endorse Brad Lander?
Yep.
That's just a little game that they play. That's just two alphas, like not trying to, not trying to interrupt what it means to be like a leader. So you wouldn't understand. It's all part of the subtle masquerade that high level men play.
Yeah. He's just showing his dominance over Lander by endorsing him.
Yeah. He's making it harder for him because he knows he can do it.
Yeah.
Steel sharpens steel or whatever. Yeah.
Brad Lander making threats is my new favorite.
Right. Right. You want to mess with me?
I mean,
You're gonna get popped.
That campaign ad really was like, who said it? Mr. Rogers? Like, even the ad was like Mr. Rogers' neighborhood set up with the
Like it. He sang Mr. Rogers at the end.
Yeah, let's. I can find it.
We don't need to play it. But I want. So I think we'll see how this race plays out. I want to make sure, I'm excited about, Lander is obviously the better candidate, but he's got to get some of that cutthroat stuff. Learn that from Zoran a little bit.
I mean, Zoran's, I think the moment that I thought, and I actually predicted, I said he's going to do it on Twitter. When he went for Cuomo's throat saying, I have not sued women for their gynecological records because I'm not you. Like that moment, and it's a little bit easier, I will grant, because Cuomo was he's sort of like disgraced.
Yeah.
It's not like Fate in Minneapolis mayor race tried to do a similar thing with Fry, going at him with Trump, but he's not quite as disgraced. But also like I don't think he had quite as it's harder to find an angle, but I do think at certain to win these races you needed to go at Hillary like that in 2016 and so forth.
You know, I will say on that note, though, it is a disgrace for any Democratic leader especially towards the end of that race, where Cuomo and Trump and everyone were throwing out the most Islamophobic things you could think of at Zoran, for you to be a Democratic Party leader or a member of the Democratic Party in some sort of standing, a Congress member like Goldman is, and for you to not be like, all right, you know what, whatever disagreements I have with Zoran, enough is enough. I got to stand behind him. This is disgusting. For you not to do that, I think that's a disgrace.
Yeah.
And I think a political liability, because this is why like Democrat base is starting to line up more behind progressives instead of these sorts of like sellout centrists that they used to associate with winning. Well, that's all fucked now. And so why are we supporting the like sexual harasser who, you know, created an entire caucus just to undermine progressive legislation in Cuomo? Like, why are we doing?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that are, you know, embedded in that. And I think the one that I keep coming back to is that if they'll throw, you know, women under the bus who have been sexually harassed by Cuomo and then gone after by Cuomo, if they'll throw Muslims under the bus, whether they're like, you know, running for mayor or just on the streets of New York, and having, you know, Israeli and Zionist defenders attacking them, claiming that they're being anti-Semitic, or even in Gaza, like, who won't they throw under the bus? And I think a lot of people are moving towards like more leftist politics because the Democratic Party's version of centrism demands that they throw more and more marginalized people under the bus every time in pursuit of Silicon Valley money or suburban moms or whatever new construct they have this week that justifies it, because they feel like those people don't have any other options. So I think giving those people other options, whether embedded in the Democratic Party, you know, further to the left or outside the party, is the key to changing the Democratic Party apparatus, but also just, you know, changing the country's political system in general.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Read some funny IMs about this and then we'll move on. But 502 Drew, Brad Lander, that's an awfully nice congressional seat you got there. It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
Yeah, he was locked up like a few months ago. Too.
Yeah.
That's why he's so hard.
Right. Yes.
He was on the inside.
Well, that's the other thing, is he needs to lean into him being a fighter for immigrants. The Mr. Rogers thing, you know, we already know that you're nice. Maybe show the other side of you.
Take the makeup off the MS-13 tattoo. Let's see.
Yeah. The Mr. Rogers thing is implied every time we hear your voice for 2 seconds.
Yeah. Affordability is a hoax, says Dan Goldman, is a perfect example of why just voting for people running on Trump is bad is not the way. Noah from Tampa, Goldman more like goldfish because that's who he'll be sleeping with when I'm done with him.
Imagining this in Lander's sort of like
I know.
affable delivery.
H-Dub, it's a wonderful day in the neighborhood. Would be a shame if someone got hurt.
I think a couple like tasteful teardrop tattoos would look really nice on him.
I think so too.
I think he already has them. I think they're just covered up in makeup.
Yeah, some foundation.
This crazy woman's on my screen right now, holding
Which one?
holding it.
Okay.
The one holding the unlit cigarette. The one holding the unlit cigarette and wearing
what's going on here?
A Tammy Faye wig.
Wait, is Roseanne in front of the Majority Report background in that clip?
That was just our sort of desktop.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the studio right now.
Crazy person.
I was like, what?
I haven't seen this clip, so you write this down, Brian, on our
I
sound
kind of wrote
sheet.
it as a joke. And I'm
Roseanne
sorry.
Barr finally addresses Nick Fuentes. What we've all been waiting for. I've got no context about this, so Roseanne Barr
entered the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, she's not usually on my radar because I file her into like too crazy to pay attention to territory. But now that she's back in
that doesn't
political
exist
life,
anymore.
Right? Trump is president again.
Candace Owens is leading the charts. One bit of context that I wasn't aware of is that Roseanne is Jewish, so that might explain where she's coming down on this Fuentes thing here. Yeah.
What are you going to do about it, Nick Fuentes? What you going to do about it when I tell you, you little bastard, you're going to be begging the Jews to give you I don't know what.
Medicine for his Kalman syndrome.
You're going to be begging the Jews to help you down.
So the producer has a heavy lift here because he kind of needs to finish all the sentences that Roseanne, when she loses her train of thought.
She's speaking Xanaxanese here. So.
I mean, this is sort of the alley-oop method that would probably have to do with Sam when he gets to his older age, where like that's the alley, just start the premise of the sentence and then the producers finish it.
Yeah.
Well, that's Roseanne's new like nickname. It's like Roseanne, quotation mark, Xanax bar.
Roseanne's bar. Yeah.
Begging the Jews to give you, I don't know what.
Medicine for his Kalman syndrome.
You're going to be begging the Jews to help you down on your knees and repent like Kanye West, motherfucker. Keep it up. It's a fucking, what do they call it?
Reckoning.
It's a sting. It's a God sting. Are you going to go against the God of Abraham? You're going to shit talk the God of the Torah? Keep it up, motherfucker.
Not
You'll
just the
see what
Torah,
happens.
the Bible, Jesus.
We'll see what happens when you try to overthrow the Constitution of the United States, the Republic of the United States of America.
Wait, hold on.
You talk shit
hold
about.
on. Is she woke again? She's defending the Constitution from Nick Fuentes?
Well, she's like a QAnoner.
Well, there's the internal fight still going on between the various factions of the right.
Okay, I understand that, but she's saying it about the Constitution, like, so she's talking about his Christian nationalism, which I thought she was on board for last time I checked.
Is she doing a deist to Constitution defense here?
No, she is a Judeo-Christian nationalist, which is like
listen
the
up, you,
thing
listen
that
up, you
like.
motherfucker. Listen up, you motherfucker. Thomas Jefferson did a whole Bible and he took out all the magic Jesus parts. So what do you say about that?
Yeah, her producer had to jump in and mention the Bible part because he had to protect her right-wing audience there. Can't just be talking about the Torah and the Jews. Got to also talk about the Christians.
Okay, all right. I think I'm following this.
I don't know. It's easy.
Yeah.
She's a master communicator.
Shit talk the God of the Torah. Keep it up, motherfucker.
Not
You'll
just the
see what
Torah,
happens.
the Bible, Jesus.
We'll see what happens when you try to overthrow the Constitution of the United States, the Republic of the United States of America. You talk shit about that, saying it ain't good, that we got to have some Catholic theology to replace it. You can kiss my motherfucking rich Jew American ass motherfucker. Come and debate me. Let's debate.
I would love that.
Yeah, debater.
But she gets like her handler to be there too. I noticed that he also looks like the handler on the PBD show because they're both like bald a little bit, maybe.
Right.
It's kind of the demographic of these producers.
Let's do 12 then while we're on the Fuentes beat. Maybe I don't know if Roseanne has the capacity. She might have goldfish memory situation or like, what's the premise of 50 First Dates? I don't know if she remembers anything.
Traumatic brain damage.
Oh yeah,
The
she's got a
premise
brain
of-
damage but yeah, everyone's.
I mean, I'm not
regular.
making fun of that. I'm just addressing it.
Yeah, don't make fun of 50 First Dates, please.
Okay. But if she wants some tips on how to take down her enemy, Nick Fuentes, who's trying to overturn the Constitution, she can maybe use some of the tactics that Piers Morgan deployed in humiliating this dude. This was pretty satisfying just to watch this. Here he is on Piers Morgan's show.
Just to clear up one of the many theories about you, I have no idea what the answer is and you haven't got to answer. But are you actually attracted to women?
I am attracted to women.
You're not gay?
No. But I will say that women are very difficult to be around.
Okay.
So there's that.
And do you think they should have the right to vote?
I do not. No, absolutely not.
They should stay at home?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So basically, you're just a misogynist old dinosaur, aren't you? For a young guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm the boomer. I know I'm the boomer here, but actually, you're a 27-year-old dinosaur, aren't you? Aren't you, Nick Fuentes? All women. I am. All women are annoying. All women grow old. They all get fat. Says the guy. Have you ever had sex?
No, absolutely not.
Wow. Says the guy who never got laid.
Oh my God, Piers is mogging them
Absolutely
and
not.
on the wow.
Absolutely not.
When you're getting big dogged and macked on by Piers Morgan, it's crazy. It's crazy out in those streets.
I guess I mean, maybe Fuentes is looking at it, biblically. Like he's never, I mean, giving head would not constitute
he's
sex.
got Catholic virginity, is what we call it.
Okay. I'm just in theory.
Not that I would ever watch anything.
Not that there's been any kind of evidence of that. It's just speaking hypothetically. Giving head to somebody else would not constitute sex, right?
No. Jesus did it all the time. Didn't he?
The Romans
Sorry.
did it too in 300. That's the director's cut.
Oh,
The
yeah.
director's uncut, really.
Disgusting.
Well, I mean, I have no doubt that Nick Fuentes hates women. I don't know if it's rooted in his sexuality, but that's like the brand that he's got. Piers Morgan, like he likes to quibble back and forth on like what his political stance is of the day, which largely it's, whatever earns him the most clout online. But like, yeah, I think Nick Fuentes has found a way to marry the divorced dad and incel teenager base that forms the most ardent MAGA supporter. Like in the fact that like, those people all hate women for one reason or another. It has married in his new brand of like hyper online meme-based neo-Nazism. So I mean, whether or not he personally likes them, sexually, I think is unrelated to that. But certainly, it's married into his politics.
It's what we've been saying about the manosphere / Andrew Tate style thing. Guys who are getting laid aren't watching that shit. They are cultivating an audience full of guys who have sort of arrested development in that way, mainly because our society doesn't foster things like a personal connection. It's mainly geared towards serving your boss, and people don't have as much spending money and stuff costs so much. But you take people who are young men who are ground up in that situation and never able to get any sort of traction socially, and you keep them there. Because that's an audience every fucking night. You're never gonna have to worry about them going out for dinner with a woman and missing one of your streams. They'll be there to hear about it, and you just keep picking the scabs for them and making them more and more detestable and loathsome to anybody who might, want to love them. And you see,
And they come back for more to get more tips and satiate themselves. It's
It's very common in high control groups like cults. Like, you have to extricate people from positive social relationships. And it's not only just guys who can't get laid. A lot of it is just guys who are insecure too. Like, because you'll hear those stories online of like the lady who's posting on maybe not Reddit, but any website of like their boyfriend just starting to listen to Andrew Tate or just starting to listen to this sort of thing. And rooted in that is insecurity. But a lot of that insecurity is fostered by the same things that they think they want, which is the patriarchy. That's telling them that like, oh no, because they don't make enough money, their girlfriend just can't possibly, or their wife just can't possibly like them, or they should be looking for a prettier girl to show to demonstrate their social value to other men. And it's like thoughts like that are rooted in insecurity and will result, especially if you start to express them and hold them strongly, result in you like not being attractive to most women. Obviously, when you're rich, you can get around that. Usually Elon Musk can't seem to, but usually you can get around it by just like paying to have like people, like be your romantic interest. But like in general, like if people who can't afford that are going to find themselves just isolated, and they're going to start confusing like the negative social components of being part of that incel group, the constant denigration, the constant like self-esteem like knocks of being told that you're not tall enough or your jaw's not sharp enough to like to just enmesh themselves and deeper until they can't get out. It's like any other like fringe group or cult or like radical ideology. But a lot of people don't realize it because it's not fully promoted as political. Sometimes it's promoted like common sense dating tips from like whatever alpha male podcast there is popular on the charts this week.
And his increased prominence is deeply concerning, I think. I mean, unfortunately, Fuentes is actually kind of talented at what he does. And I would put the marker at when Elon Musk purchased Twitter and allowed a bunch of Nazis back on the platform. The fact that he's continued to grow in prominence since then is not a coincidence. He's back on there. But also, of course, he has capitalized on the Gaza genocide with a lot of virulent anti-Semitism that has been rising among young right-wing figures, and so or young right-wing voters. And I like that that little dressing down by peers there, but I think some people really need to start reckoning with what the value of giving this guy a platform is. Because at a certain level, he's just normalizing himself to the rest of the country as he's an actual Nazi. And he's adept at navigating these waters and saying certain things on certain platforms that make him sound more palatable than his views actually are. And he's a problem. I really think Fuentes is a big problem of radicalizing people in this country right now.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, Fuentes might just be he's very popular, and I agree. And I think that right now he's the flavor of the month. I keep using like terms like that, of the day, of the week, of the month. But what he represents is very dangerous, because like, who knows? He might just have a controversy like Milo Yiannopoulos did, where he gets like completely out of the news next week. But the situation, the circumstances that have led to him to be popular, and also that have led to him to be not just mainstreamed by people like Piers Morgan, but like continue to be folded into what people consider to be like reasonable, like right-wing or political discourse by people like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Steven Crowder, who don't want to make the same mistake that Tim Pool is making, or they feel Tim Pool is making, by alienating themselves from the segments of their base that are becoming more radically neo-Nazi, that are becoming more like Nick Fuentes. They want to like they want to be friends with the people who are further down the radicalization pipeline they are, because it reduces the amount of schism. And so like people are going to continue to find the value in like promoting him the same way they found the value in promoting all of these right-wing figures, either because of like a misplaced sense of voyeurism, or because they just think it's useful to have their audience be open to whatever that this next person is selling.
Yeah.
Right. I would say Fuentes is a little bit more of a concern in terms of the fact that he's been the flavor of the month for many various months throughout many years now. He hasn't really gone away from when he first sort of hit everybody's radar, and he's only grown since then. He has an actual movement, if you want to call it that, but they view themselves as under an umbrella. They share a name, the Groypers. And they present themselves as that, so they're proud of being that. And I also don't think Fuentes has ulterior motives in the way that like a Milo Yiannopoulos has. Like Milo Yiannopoulos is clearly someone who has an ego, wants to be a larger than life character himself. He does a lot of it just for his own social benefit. And Fuentes doesn't seem to have that. I mean, obviously, in some aspect, you have an ego if you want to be a talking head in some way. But he doesn't seem to prioritize that over what his beliefs are in the way that a Milo Yiannopoulos did, which ended up being Milo's downfall.
Yep.
I do think this Candace Owens split between him, and I don't know if we want to play this, but Candace Owens is apparently going back and forth with TP or Charlie Kirk show / TPUSA, because she's implying that they she's
implying.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like she says that she's not suggesting that they orchestrated the killing of Charlie Kirk. She is saying that they are covering it up and disgracing his legacy. Now, in the same breath, she'll also say that his chief of staff made a phone call directly after the shooting, and I don't know what that would imply except that he is in on it somehow. But that's Candace Owens, when you press her, says she's worried about the cover up, and she's just asking questions about why they're doing that.
She's like Alex Jones.
Or Joe McCarthy.
I want to give my husband credit for saying this, but like he was just, that she weaves in like an emotionality into her conspiracism that is reminiscent of Alex Jones. So credit to my husband for making that point. And I just thought, I've been thinking about that since, like, that I think it engages people on that kind of visceral level in a way that some of the other right-wing commentators don't. Like, compare that to Mr. Facts and Logic, Ben Shapiro. They're meeting, that level of conspiracism hits people in an emotional way that I think is also intoxicating.
She's taken the women entirely of the conservative movement. Like the PBD clip we played, did we play that on the show, Brian? Where the guys like literally said, "My wife has been watching her." Well, the PBD producer cuts in and says like, "Oh yeah, I've been hearing a lot because my wife isn't watching the Candace stuff, and all of her ads are like lotion and stuff like that. Like her audience, I think, is very clearly a female, and it's any sort of right of center woman is up entirely on board with her."
I think we can agree. A lot of the shows that she's like smoking right now are boring. Like, Nick Fuentes isn't boring, but like I've watched a lot of Tim Pool recently. Tim Pool is boring. Ben Shapiro is boring. Like it's a certain type of performance that they try to give that is like, meant to reference a sort of legitimacy, a legitimate type of media. Like they're trying to like be the bridge between like the independent media and like your Fox News, like more Republican aligned media. And it shows in their politics, which is also why they're not popular. But their shows are also deeply, deeply boring sometimes. Candace's show can get boring too, but her presentation is very good. And she dances around a conclusion the same way they all do. Like they'll criticize Candace for like leading people up, like leading the horse up to water and like relying on them to drink by themselves. But they do all of that all the time. They just don't like when that results in them, the horse in this case being their audience, drinking from a river that makes whatever they now have imbibed incompatible with like the pro-Republican stance. They don't like when, they lead their audience to the conclusion that like, there's a secret group of people who control the world, because usually they're meaning it's like lefties or LGBTQ people, that victim complex they're always trying to get their audience to like become more enmeshed in. And when someone like Nick Fuentes or Candace Owen comes in and they like name a particular enemy that they just aren't necessarily willing to name or aren't necessarily willing to like go down that level of conspiracism, or in this case anti-Semitic conspiracism, their audience just is more attracted to the people who will say it. Like Candace Owens is making the good decision to like make friends with the people who are willing to say what she won't say, so that they don't create a schism in her own audience. But they haven't been, and that's going to become more of a problem, especially if the right wing, the MAGA base splits further and becomes more crazy, like because they're becoming more crazy every day.
Yeah.
Like the Tim Pool saying we're going to lose the midterms is such a stupid rhetorical approach. Like you're talking about somebody who got assassinated and you're like, okay, not now, we have to worry about the midterms. Like I think she's full of shit. Obviously she talks about it coming from her dreams.
Say
that. Don't say like, not now, Candace, the Republican, you're ruining the midterms for Republicans, because it is, like we said, she's doing what they were doing. They just wanted to make his death a weapon against the left.
Exactly.
It doesn't help too that, and what she's also confronted them with, and this gives legitimacy to like the conspiracies that she's peddling now too, is that a lot of them, like the PBD boys, Tim Pool, Charlie Kirk, even although they're trying to revisit this, they're all in the bag for the Epstein conspiracy. They're all people who are telling you like, oh yeah, like there was no list, maybe Trump's on the right. And so when she can speak truth to that within like right-wing spaces too, it makes them look foolish. It makes like, it makes Adam, whatever his name is, on PBD look foolish for having defended like Trump not being on the list or whatever thing he was saying. It makes like, those people who are still trying to hold the torch for Trump on things that are just completely unreasonable seem like they have no legitimacy on whatever other issue they're talking about. And so like she's weaponizing their silence over the obvious flaws of Donald Trump the same way he weaponized the silence within the general Republican Party political apparatus against them for their base, and also against the Democratic Party too when it came to the Iraq War, any number of things that both parties or Republican Party establishment has kind of like put in a black box. And so like it's very easy for her, not necessarily being beholden to that Republican Party apparatus, to reveal all of these like open secrets about how they're not doing well, like things are too expensive, like Trump is like on the Epstein files, things that we all like know at least to some degree, but that like some more like trying to cozy up to the administration and sending those like press pool Republican commentators just won't do. Like they just won't say those things.
Yep. Bad enchilada. Did you guys see TMZ put out that Tim's claim his compound got shot up couldn't be substantiated by the local police department? LOL.
Surprise,
Tim
surprise.
Smollett.
That's a good one. That's the new
That's
meta.
what Candace
New meta.
called him. That's a Candace.
That's
Timothy
nice. That's a
Smollett.
good one.
She also
Candace
called her
also
fence-sitter.
said she also said that the last time he claimed that his compound got shot up, it was actually, according to her, it was actually his Tim Pool's brother with a gun at the compound, according to Candace Owens.
According to Candace Owens.
But Candace Owens also said, that Tim Pool was auditioning for Zionists, which is literally something I've said on this show. When did she watch? You watching MR, Candace?
She called him a fence sitter, which is the Timba on Toast video.
Yep.
I'll just say I have two new sound drops from Candace Owens' recent stuff. I would just like to enter them into the record.
Yes,
I don't
please.
know, but I know. No.
You know?
And then here's the second one.
I don't know, but I know.
Wait, but what was the other one I texted you yesterday?
Oh, that was, I have that here too somewhere. I did pull that. I just have it. Oh, yes.
This is my new favorite.
It is, let's see here, right here.
What you are seeing is actually a display of estrogen.
That was in regard to Tim Pool.
Well, I mean, I will say, who knows what happened outside of Tim Pool's compound that night. What makes me suspicious is that 2 years ago, almost to the exact day, he claimed that there was another shooting, and there's tweets, corresponding to that as well. So unless he's being targeted by a very specific kind of supervillain that comes after him on a very specific day, that being like around, like Calendar Man or something. Like Calendar Man comes after him,
like Mothman or something.
Yeah, and the Mothman comes after him like Krampus knocked every night, every December 5th. Like he comes after him. But he was sick last year because
it was on December 5th. I'll just say that's my birthday.
Who knows?
Oh, Matt, where were you?
What's your alibi?
Yeah.
I was here working.
I feel like you could have a lot of alibis on your birthday. It's a pretty good day to.
All right, I'm going to open
How the fuck am I even supposed to sell this property?
I'm going to open up the phones. We'll take a call or two, 646-257-3920. War on Christmas Adventure says, did you guys see the Breaking Point story that the Republicans lured Jasmine Crockett into running for Texas Senate? Yep. I just think Tallarico is the better candidate for this race.
Crockett's response to Michael Tracy's questions about Israel was disqualifying for me.
What was his
I'll see if I
question?
can find it.
Michael Tracy, is he still wait, so he asked about Israel, but isn't he the guy that is anti-Epstein
He is
victims?
sort of started doing paralegal work for Maxwell and everyone. But he is still anti-Israel. He is an enigma, but
truly.
Odd guy.
I'm glad he didn't accuse Jasmine Crockett of beating him up this time or whatever, like he did with Maxine Waters. All right, let's quickly take a call here. Calling from a 619 area code. Who's this? Where you calling from? 619.
Hi, Emma. This is Greg. How are you guys doing?
Hi, Greg. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from San Diego.
Greg from San Diego. What's on your mind?
Yes. I have seen within the past week, there was a report about Donald Trump Jr. receiving a $620 million loan from the Pentagon.
Whoa.
For a company called Vulcan Elements, and his venture capital firm that he's a part of. That's his involvement with it, but nobody seems to be reporting about that. I mean, talk about blatant corruption at the most grandiose scale that you can imagine. And I saw one little headline on Democracy Now! That posted about it, but outside of that, there's been nothing. It was just a headline. There's no details on the article, so
Snopes
you guys can maybe.
Snopes has ranked this claim true. DOD gave $200 million loan to startup backed by Donald Trump Jr.'s venture capital firm. Vulcan Elements, you mentioned rare earth magnets, started by Trump Jr.'s venture capital firm, 1789 Capital. God, it's 600.
I mean, there's no conflict of interest there, right?
No, not at all. This contract is a part of a $1.4 billion partnership with the U.S. government and Re-Element Technologies to expand and boost domestic supply of magnets, according to the company. Maybe that's why Trump's so obsessed with magnets.
Yeah. But I
mean, there goes the Hunter Biden Burisma.
Yeah, he says they don't work. He says they don't work, so which would make sense is why he thinks his stupid son's the stupidest one wants to get into magnets.
He's like, you get magnets wet, they don't work.
Right.
Yeah, this is the largest loan that the Pentagon has ever given to a company before.
God, it's just amazing how quotidian this crap is. Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a great, campaign messaging, in terms of the corruption, but we'll see. Who knows?
Hard to pick a one that's worse than that, but somehow the Trump administration seems to beat itself. Appreciate the call. Thank you.
I will say those rare earth elements, a lot of them can be sourced from Venezuela.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there.
Calling from a 904 area code. Who's this where you're calling from? 904.
Hello.
Hello.
Demosthenes from Florida.
Demosthenes from Florida. What's on your mind?
I don't like it here.
In Florida? Yeah. I hear you.
A lot of people coming in and out. The economy is only going to get worse. I would say Florida is a good representation of the future of America if everything keeps going the way it's going.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No, not really.
All right. Well, hang in there, buddy.
The problem with Florida is you're not going to be able to insure anything down there because it's sinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also happening in Texas too, and in California, like large portions of the country are just becoming unlivable due to the rising costs of not just homes in general, but homeowners insurance, given the climate catastrophes.
All right, so here this is. So this is Michael Tracy
at the VP debate.
Hopefully he has security so that he doesn't, Maxine Waters doesn't come out from the corner and assault him again. That's a joke. So I guess they were in the spin room. What is this?
This is the VP debate. Walls. This is a while ago.
So this is a while ago, but probably relevant now. Given
if it's not relevant, she needs to publish her updated thinking on the issue because.
Well, Tallarico's updated his position. He's no longer taking Adelson money like he did in his previous kind of campaign effort.
And a note on the Adelson money, like this is not. He says like I was taking the money not for Israel but for gambling, which.
Isn't great.
Isn't a much better position for me, frankly. I don't like either of those things. But it is better than what we're about to see from...
Well, she's... And we should say that is Miriam Adelson, major, of course, Zionist donor, also owner of the Dallas Mavericks, and has been trying to put pressure on the state to legalize gambling there, and is threatening basically to move the Mavericks to Las Vegas so that it can be a part of her primary business, which is the casino. So him taking that money makes sense, isn't great, but at least he's distancing himself from it. And I just I think Crockett has value as a partisan and she can generate enthusiasm within the Democratic base for some things, but as a statewide candidate, I really don't necessarily know. The more I've thought about it, if she's the right person. What Tallarico is doing with a more, it's like he has decently progressive positions in some ways. He's okay on Israel, I think now, and he's also gives a bit of an off ramp, I think, for some of people who maybe voted for Trump to vote for a guy like him, because he's doing this I'm a good man thing, and it's a pretty big contrast to MAGA. So we'll see. This is what her answer was, though.
Continue on in perpetuity even after I'm gone. And so when you look at Israel, I think it is important that people start to talk about the fact that the state of Israel versus their leadership. Because right now, or when I went to Israel, I know that the people were protesting Netanyahu because Netanyahu was reforming the courts. In addition to the fact that Netanyahu was under investigation along with people in his administration. Sound familiar? Does it sound like somebody else that you know? It sounds like Donald Trump to me, somebody that has reformed our courts that have decided.
So, liberal Zionists complaining about
Netanyahu.
But the stuff about the ally, and this is a 6-minute clip. I think there's even worse stuff.
That's the DMFI talking point, by the way. So
And I would just also point out Anthony Conrad, who I think we've had on the show, right? Has this piece in The Nation about the Congressional Black Caucus's silence during the Gaza genocide. And like, that's what I worry, that she's being groomed by the same people who have decided that this is not a fight for us. Supposedly, as Anthony Conrad points out, a caucus that called itself the conscience of Congress. No, it's not. The people who are the conscience are the ones that aren't going to talk about, you know, what an ally Israel is in this moment.
Yeah.
They did a genocide. We need to cut them off from fucking the things that did it.
Well, I mean, Israel is an ally to a lot of neoconservative Democrats because it allows them to have
a hiccup, folks. So,
Someone's saying the Twitch stream is down. Sorry, Brandon.
oh no.
What's going on? Okay.
OBS dropped out. Everything dropped out for a second, but if you just refresh, everything should be back.
Okay, cool. All right, well, let's just have some fun with this this Eric thing, and then. But Brandon, did you want to make your point?
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that, like, you know, Israel is an ally for Democrats because it allows Democrats who want to do the same thing that liberal Zionists are doing in Israel to do with the Republicans, to do just that, which is to pretend that they're being dragged along, kicking and screaming into supporting the military-industrial complex. You know, that like, oh, well, you know, I would really like to stop genocide or war in the Middle East. I'd love to be pro-peace, but there's just this marginalized group in the Middle East plopped there for who knows what reason, and we have to give them everything that they possibly could ask for and even more to defend themselves in the most like vague and nebulous way without any sort of like constraints to that. And, you know, it allows them to pretend like they're being suckered or, you know, drawn into this, you know, endless conflict for the right reasons. And, you know, whether or not she understands that that's what she's doing, or if that's just become so like deeply ingrained into like the Democratic, you know, the heavily aligned Democratic Party politician ethos that she just doesn't realize what she's parroting, it is kind of irrelevant because it's been the same for Democrats for a very long time. Like, they can use Israel to support the military industrial complex and signal that they're serious on foreign policy. It's like they're serious on, like, you know, what it means to be a legislator in America.
Yeah.
I mean, the Block the Bombs Act is the number one. I think, people can correct me if I'm wrong. Is Tallarico made his position clear about that? But Crockett is not a signer of Block the Bomb. She is a co-signer of Medicare for All, but a lot of people are. That needs to be, if she wants to actually get credit for that, it needs to become more of a vocal part of her campaign.
Gillibrand did back before she ran, as did Kamala Harris, and then they didn't support it on the campaign trail. So, let's do this. So, Erica Kirk is finally pushing back on Candace Owens, who has made some really, really serious accusations against her, basically, right?
That she's complicit in the cover-up of her former husband's murder.
Right, and that they were on the road for divorce before her husband got murdered.
And her husband was gay. Oh, no, that was Milo, sorry.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't Candace. They were getting a divorce. That was Candace.
Yes. I mean, the amount of comfortability that these figures have in just using this guy's death and his... Yeah, for their own petty media career advancement. Like, it's not about the politics of it. You have the national kind of Republican donor base that wants to steer TPUSA in a way that is, like, yes, Zionist, but also hopefully they want to activate young Republicans and use that as a way to continue to try to indoctrinate the youth into believing in conservatism. That's their agenda. But for all these media figures like Candace Owens, it's just about views and clicks and sensationalism. And Candace has thrown out a lot of different anecdotes that have heavily implied accusations undergirding them, and she just kind of connects them together very loosely and calls it a theory. But she's causing a lot of problems with the right that is trying to actually gear TPUSA in the manner that I just described as a political apparatus for the Republican Party, where Candace is more incentivized to make Candace money.
I believe she told people to seek refunds from TPUSA for the cover up.
So, Erica Kirk has gotta maybe address this because Candace Owens is dragging her name through the mud.
Destroying the husband's organization that she's now in charge of.
And so, but she doesn't say her name here, but this is clearly directed at Candace Owens on Fox and Friends yesterday.
It's those little things where, again, he would walk through the door, drop his bags, Daddy's home.
Oh, this is a different one? Sorry, 10 or 16 here. 16. It's okay. This is the one.
That was her like reframing Charlie as basically a Jewish man.
Oh, yeah,
That's a
say
whole
that for
different
Sam.
video.
That's a whole different video.
Apparently, he would say Shabbat Shalom every Friday.
So, actually, that's a part of this, though, is Candace is saying he was becoming Roman Catholic, and apparently there's this other insinuation, like Charlie was really searching, and Milo thinks he was gay. So,
Wow, it was really all over the place. But here she is.
I just need somebody to come with he was actually converting to Islam, but here she is.
Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want, go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people
Wait, hold
that
on.
I love,
Oh, okay, all right. She clarified she meant family, then the TPUSA family, then the Charlie Kirk family, not her family being TPUSA. I just
The TPOSA family, like the board that put her in charge immediately.
yeah, exactly.
My
The billionaire donors that had been floating Charlie in this position since
When
he
you-
was a really young man.
When you mess with me, you mess with Foster Freeze's estate, and so
And again, they're so effed because they can't say you have to trust Kash Patel's FBI because that is a loser.
Yep. Yeah.
Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode,
they're really mad about
going
that.
after the people that I
Right, that's kind of beside the point.
That's what they're really mad at. That's like why Tim Pool spent like an hour pocket watching, like on like, pocket watching with Pool. That was like his segment 2 weeks ago. Like they're mad at how much better at this she is than they are. They're mad. They're mad.
Yeah. They are not, but that's it. This is all, it's amazing.
About money.
It's all about money and how easily Erica Kirk has slipped into making it all about money.
She's still got one finger that doesn't have an $80,000 ring on it. So look at her ring.
Holy I mean, God, talk about a statement
Damn.
ring.
Oh,
all right?
wow. She was like a preacher. She was like
I mean-
She looks like Tom Brady.
Yeah. Right. Keep going.
going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this. No.
You know, I have to say it. I've never seen you like this.
No, this
Okay.
is righteous
Should we move
anger
away?
because this is not okay. It's not healthy. This is a mind virus. Yes, I believe in our judicial system.
Oh,
I
God.
do. We have a hell of a team working on this. Excuse my French. But this is not okay.
So you want to put these people back in the box where they've been creeping from?
I don't care what box you're in. But just know that your words are very powerful and we are human. My team are not machines and they're not robots. They
My
are
team?
human. We have more death threats on our team and our side than I have ever seen. I have kidnapping threats. I have, you name it.
The right is out of control. The right is just
yeah.
out of control, everybody.
Yeah.
And they're always doing
That's all
this
internal.
Yeah, and I is anybody gonna get like can we stop with the self-victimization stuff on the right? It's really annoying. I mean, how many right-wing influencers right now are making a bunch of videos about like with very thinly veiled conspiracies talking about how under attack they are? I mean, it's weird. I mean, I saw like centering yourself as some sort of character in politics and making yourself into a victim It just is a very odd way, I think, to engage in political analysis.
But it's at the heart of right wing politics. At the heart of right wing politics, what keeps all of the like Christian evangelicals and like far right groypers and like big money billionaires together is victimization.
Yeah.
It's like the complex victimology that, you know, manifests as bigotry oftentimes, but like the complex victimology of like everyone's actually out to get me. You know, I think that like in Erica Kirk, you see it like very plainly because she's not as media trained as her husband is, but she has a lot of the same impulses. Because I think, let's be honest, if Charlie Kirk was around and this had happened to someone else, he'd be doing this exact same thing. I do think though that considering like what happened to Charlie, like their victim like impulse is like out of control now, and you know that's why like I think Tim Pool's trying to get ahead of the game. The new meta is going to be the fake shootings. The new meta,
yeah. But the victim stuff is, I mean, like, I'll be real. I've seen, you know, even like TYT engaging in this stuff where it's like, they're coming after me, me. And it's like, if you're only talking about Israel within the context of you being the victim, or like, that's a big part of the conversation. I mean, it lends itself to the conspiracism that they like to engage in around this topic because it's the shadowy cabal that's coming after them. And it avoids them having to have any real conversation about, like, what do you believe in about this region, for example? Like, I believe in one democratic secular state because I think in people of equal rights. That's not the approach that the right is taking. But
I would say that's actually interesting you bring it up because I have it on good authority that like Charlie, and this might be related to the reason that he was killed. I can't say for sure. It didn't happen in a dream. I just think this to be true. A waking dream, if you will. I think that he was about to convert to Black Hebrew Israelitism, and that's why they finally had to come after him because he was just he was a moment away from like revealing the true truth of Judea to the masses, and so like
I buy that theory.
Right in the neck.
I'll just this is Social Blade for Turning Point USA, and you can see here that if we get this most recent month 9 million views. That is the lowest they've had since January 2024. They usually get double that pretty much.
What's that spike?
That's you know. Not a reproducible strategy, I'll say that.
I should try that more often. I don't know what that corresponds to, but it.
All right, well, we'll play this other Erica Kirk clip we didn't play earlier, but I do think it's pretty cowardly that she didn't mention Candace by name.
Apparently, according to Candace Owens, she saved the name check for her Barry Weiss piece that's coming out, where she will name check him.
Oh, the Barry Weiss piece. Oh,
they're so lost.
The amount of better things that could be in my brain right now.
than you saying that.
Than that.
This was the clip we almost played earlier that we were alluding to, which seems you know, Charlie Kirk believed in all religions is basically what I'm hearing here. They're all the same. We all worship the same God, man.
Yeah, he's like one of those
like
stores that sells Tibetan flags.
Yeah, he's like a hippie who lives, you know, who smoked a little bit too much weed back in the day, and
they call him Coexist Charlie.
Right.
It's those little things where, again, he would walk through the door, drop his bags, Daddy's home,
bling bling,
take his phone, Friday night, Shabbat Shalom, throw it in the junk drawer, and it was just all us. And that's what I always wanted to make so special for him, was coming home. I'd always say, baby, I don't care what time you get home. Home is here for you. Your food will never be cold. It might sit out for a little bit, but I'll reheat it. It's fine. And I just want to encourage spouses, don't get mad. It's so easy. Don't do it. It's
okay. All right, gonna read some IMs and get out of here. Turn on the voicemail. Sorry, guys, no more time for calls. I'm actually doing the Vanguard, so I am gonna read some IMs. Gonna go on their show. Our friends over there. Read some IMs and get out of here. Reese from Tacoma. Charlie Kirk was about to revert to Islam. The debate with Hassan was supposed to happen was the conversion ceremony. Yes, absolutely.
I don't know, but I know. You know?
No?
5 million views.
Star Spawn. Shout out to fellow Washington folks enduring the atmospheric river. Lots of devastating floods. Please be safe. Yes, be safe.
Atmospheric river? What does that mean?
It's it came through LA when I was there. It was pouring rain.
It's like a monsoon.
Yeah.
Oh, like the Gulf Stream or whatever?
Yeah. Vaughn from Wisconsin. Also, the Senate should be abolished primarily to end discourse regarding Dem Senate primaries.
Yes.
Um,
One unicameral body of the people.
Yep. Holtenheim. It's literally just deer hunting season, and he lives in a remote country compound that probably has low-maintained woods that other people are hunting in without permission. Tim is just an out-of-place city slicker.
Gunshots in the woods?
Yeah.
It might be deer season there.
It literally is, yeah.
I like to imagine that all the animals on Tim Pool's compound have little beanies on them, and so if you go like hunting near his compound, like the deers have beanies on them, and like so like, and so if you try to take one down, it's less cool. They're wearing
Instead
hats.
of hooves, they have wheels. You
Yeah,
know?
they skateboard. They're cool.
Yeah, they're cool. They're chill. They're all male somehow. All of the deers in Tim Pool's compound. Deer. Deer is the plural.
Yeah.
Trying to get ahead of the comments.
That's just my dad's voice in the back of my head. Sorry. Stop saying
Deer
like
and
all the
beanie.
time. Yeah, what'd you
Beanie's
say?
plural too.
Yeah.
He specifically mentioned Maryland, right? Maryland archery season starts early September. Gun season starts November 29th.
No, he said in Maryland that people broke in and beat up his tenants, and in West Virginia was the gun show.
Oh, okay. Let me check West Virginia.
What?
He said he has got a property in Maryland, and people are breaking into our property and beating up the tenants. I don't know how I'm going to resell this property.
Let's see. If it's not started for deer guns, oh yeah, November 24th. So yeah, it is just gun season.
He thinks deer season is just people trying to kill him.
That's what he thought the 2 years ago too. The same time. That's why it's the same time. It's because fucking gun season started.
Carly Chirk, y'all aren't even going to mention Sam being on I've Had It this morning. Brutal, LOL. He recorded that a while ago. I guess it just came out then.
It was last week, but I remember you saying that yours took a little bit to come out, so that's why we didn't talk about it.
Yeah, sorry,
I had no idea
guys.
when it was going to be released.
Didn't know it was released, but check out Sam on I've Had It. The Epstein Ballroom atmospheric river is powerful rain like a hurricane, but farther north where hurricane would not form. Gotcha. 3 more.
That's so funny. Somebody tell Tim that deer season starts in late November. So
It's so funny to be such a victim. You think hunting
Unbelievable.
season is about you.
This is probably the Qataris.
I pray to Pesh. She says Charlie Kirk has become like the Republican Rorschach test. Ostentatious. I don't believe my fellow Texans will vote for Jasmine Crockett if she continues her advocacy to send our dollars to support the state of Israel. Cost of living is getting real in this state, and America First voters will not understand, agree with her advocacy.
She also had a terrible answer during the election about cost of living and stuff like that. Like she is a good rhetorical
partisan.
Partisan.
Yep.
But what does she stand for? Like, it's a problem if you're running against James Talarico and you make James Talarico look well-defined, because I don't think he is yet.
Yeah. And the final I am of the day, Blair Mountain Enjoyer. The shootings at Tim Pool's compound, shootings in quotes, have also happened at the tail end of regular gun season for hunting deer in West Virginia. There's a non-zero chance. Okay, we just said that, so I will come up with another I am, but yes, good point.
Literally, the deer buck firearms, November 24th to December 7th.
Yeah. And the final I am of the day, anonymous. So what happened was J.D. Vance knew he could not become president with an Indian wife, so he went to Israel, revealing that Charlie Kirk was going to stab him in the back and do a 360 pivot to be an anti-Semitic hack. Thus, Israel would have no choice but to publicly assassinate Charlie with their Mormon sleeper cell. Now J.D. Vance will be able to marry Charlie Kirk's widow and adopt his beautiful white real American babies, allowing him to be the 2028 Republican frontrunner. It's pretty simple when you think about it.
Totally.
Except you
simple.
left out the Egyptian planes.
Oh,
Of course. And Macron's wife. Oh, and
Yeah, what about
also,
the France? The French connection.
Yeah.
There's a lot of holes in this theory, especially since like if this plan is going to work, they have to like retire Trump before the 2028 election. The JD has to be president going in as incumbent for that energy to work.
Well, we shall see. Brandon, Matt, Binder, Brian, appreciate you all. Thank you all. We will see you tomorrow.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the light bar. But finding out won't make me feel any better. Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the meds are gonna kick in, and my pilot light shining bright. I get somewhere the choice was made, for the option where you don't get paid, for the road that bends before it finally breaks you. I get somewhere I lost my drive between the 101 and the 5. Do you know how far the detour takes you? Yeah.